had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem, the balls kept on breaking on impacts with the racket. The call of new balls please seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish and it was wired into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point, the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour optic yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon from the comfort of his own front room. You could say the ITF aced it.
Good evening and welcome to Kickoff with me, Natalie Sawyer, Danny Murphy and Darren Lewis. England can qualify tomorrow for the World Cup with a win in Latvia. Live on talkSPORT, our England correspondent Faye Carruthers will join us with the latest from their press conference where Thomas Tuchel has been speaking. Steve Clarke's Scotland, well, they were booed off yesterday even though they won and are in a good position to qualify as well for next year's finals. We'll discuss that. Wales and Northern Ireland are in action tonight as they both look to continue their push to qualify for the finals. We'll keep you updated on both of their games. And later, we'll be joined by Brentford's technical director, Lee Dykes, here in the studio. So if you fancy sending in a question, you are more than welcome. There's lots more as well that we'll cover here on Kickoff on talkSPORT. Well, I was going to say, hi, Darren and Danny, but so far it's just Danny. How are you?
I'll have to do, Natalie. I'm all right, thanks.
It's always great. Just to have you is fine. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Last time, I remember we were on, you had a very busy weekend because you're doing all sorts. A bit quieter this time around?
Yes. I little golf 4-ball competition on, well, one round of the competition with my partner. We played Saturday morning. Me and a friend of mine beat a couple of young bucks who hit it a million miles, so that was nice.
Okay.
Hope they're listening.
Oh, really?
Ross and Sam. No, it was good fun. Played golf, spent most of the weekend with my boy.
Lovely.
Just nice sometimes, isn't it, to do nothing? And also as well in our job, even with the football on and if you're only working one of those, you're still busy the day because you've got to keep an eye on it all.
Oh, it never stops.
Yeah, you're watching, 2 or 3 games a day, aren't you?
Yeah. Which in some ways, as much as I, and a lot of people echo this, the international break, we're all like, oh no, it's the international break. There's also an element where I'm like, oh, I can have a bit of a break.
Yeah.
You still keep across things, but, I don't necessarily have to watch some of the games.
Well, England were on, weren't they, of course?
Yes, yeah. You keep across the home nations and everything.
Agree.
Yes, indeed. I'll tell you what I did this weekend. My mum and dad celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So we had a nice lunch out with the family. I know.
Especially in this day and age.
Exactly. So I don't think we'll see many golden anniversaries anymore, sadly. But you never know. There might be the odd one.
There'll be a few.
Yeah, the odd one.
Lucky people.
We always love to start with a magic moment. And I know you were talking about it before we came on air, but tell me more about your magic moment, which again is golf related.
Yeah, it is, only because it's a bit different. Michael Penge, who's an English lad, he's had a strange time in many ways. Great story. He won the Spanish Open, which is his 3rd DP World Tour event this season, which has got him in the top 50 in the world. And also automatically qualifying for the Open and the Masters, which for any golfer must have made him feel you know. But only a year ago he was, or just over a year ago, he struggled. He only just managed to save his tour card in the last tournament. And he also got a 3-month ban for some small bets he put on golf, which you're not allowed to do.
Of course.
So there was a train of thought at one point that he was probably not going to get to the level that people thought he could with his amazing ability, because he hits the ball as long as anyone on the PGA Tour, never mind the DP World Tour. So now he's fulfilling his potential, and he's got, I mean, any golfer's dream, isn't it now? He's obviously earned some good money this year and he's won some tournaments, but now he's looking ahead thinking, I'm going to be playing in the 2 biggest tournaments in golf.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing, and he actually, strangely, well, not strangely, but he won it in a playoff hole against one of his good friends. And that was obviously, what do they say when it's good and bad? What do they call it? I've lost the... Good. Bittersweet.
Oh yes,
because when you've such good
friend,
but he actually interviewed really well. I think he wanted to be ecstatic and over the moon, but there was some respect there for his mate.
That definitely.
You should, anyone who enjoys golf and doesn't watch it religiously like me, keep an eye on this lad. He is.
Yeah, because he's still, what, 27 or something?
He is young.
Yeah.
He's handsome as well, which is really annoying.
Oh, well, I'll Google him then. Just to check. But yeah, okay, Marco Penge. Love it. Love that story. I am going to reflect on what has turned out to be a fantastic season for Hull KR, who won the treble, having completed victory over Wigan to win the Super League Grand Final. That to go with the Challenge Cup that they won earlier in the season, as well as the regular league leaders' shield. An incredible, incredible victory for them. As I say, it's the first time they've won the Super League. They have won Rugby League, but you've got to go back to the 80s for the last time that they did that. But to win the Super League like they did, and I've got really good friends who are Hull KR fans, and they were just ecstatic, as you can imagine, because they just...
Were they favourites for it or not?
I think Wigan still, I think Wigan were still favourites, even though Hull KR have had such an incredible league season, but because of Wigan's sort of history when it comes to these sort of grand finals. But yeah, to do it like they did, I think it's just a fantastic story. And what, as I say, a season it is to complete a famous treble too. So
isn't our friend Mr. Durham a fan of the Hull Kingston Rovers, or is it the...
Oh, I don't know. Stuart Pearce is a Warrington Wolves fan. I know that, but I'm not sure.
Durham's a fan of one of the Hull teams. There's 2, isn't there?
Yeah, there's Hull FC and Hull FC, we're being told. Yeah, maybe. So, not so happy. Not so happy.
He's picked the wrong one again.
He's picked the wrong one. Not the Red Robins, or the Robins, I should say, of Hull KR, who won, which, as I say, is pretty amazing. Shall we quickly reflect on what happened in that England game against Wales? What did you make of it?
I was really impressed with the intensity of England early. And that comes from the coach normally, to get you to that point where you're ready to fly out the blocks and get the game done. They just strangled them. Like, they really pressed them everywhere. Like, there was a real determined effort from everyone to just keep winning the ball back every time Wales got it. And the quality in the final third was really good. And I think when you go 3-0 up in a game like that, it's hard to maintain that intensity and that desire to keep going forward and doing the same things, because you know you've got games coming up. And it was a friendly. And of course Wales were going to battle and try and stop the rot. But I thought the intensity of the team and the quality in that early stage of the game was really high against a decent opposition. You know, the Welsh got some good players. So he'll be really pleased with that. I know he got a few questions over his remarks to do with the crowd, didn't he?
Is he justified, do you think, saying stuff like that?
Well, I've been to Wembley many occasions and felt the atmosphere isn't what it should be. Even club games, really.
Yeah. And
I think at international level, the problem is you've got such a diverse crowd, you know, all going for different reasons. It's never going to be the same as the club.
That's it.
You know, it's just not. It would be for a tournament, because you get the diehards at the tournaments. But I think especially as well when you're 3-0 after, what was it, 20 minutes?
20 minutes, yeah. It's done.
The crowd kind of then, they just fall flat because if the game goes flat. I don't think it's a big deal that he said it.
No, I think you're right. But I also think, to a degree,
It's what he felt in the moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, and listen, he's always been direct. He says how he feels. He doesn't sort of
Says what he likes. And likes
exactly.
What he says.
He doesn't skirt around it. He just says it. And sometimes maybe in reflection, he might think, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." Hence the Jude Bellingham comment that he made. But equally, I think what the other thing is, and you mentioned it as well, the club side. That he's always been a club manager, so he's kind of used to maybe a bit more of a
appreciation.
Yeah. A bit more of a support, shall we say. Whereas, as you rightly point out as well, the Wembley crowd is different every time. You're never going to get the same sort of individual, certainly not sat in the same place. So I'm not surprised that you're going to sometimes get flat atmospheres.
I think it's like a bit like club level, isn't it? International football, in the away supporters tend to be the most vocal.
Yeah.
You always I always
absolutely.
felt it when I played. The away fans were always loud.
Yeah.
And you'd feel like
because you're outnumbered, so you've got to be as loud as you can.
And I think that you'll probably, I don't know how many England fans are going on Tuesday night, but you'll definitely hear them.
Yeah. Well, and he said it, the Serbia away game, the England
great,
fans were fantastic. Yeah. So I think it's just that also, as you rightly pointed out, probably the hardcore England fans are now having to start thinking about, well, we've got to save up for the World Cup. Can't keep going to all these other games as much as they'd love to, because we know it's not going to be cheap heading out to North America for that World Cup. And who knows where all these games are going to be staged.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
I know.
I actually don't like it. I think having it in one place is better.
Well, the Qatar one, I think we were all very spoilt with in terms of that's the only World Cup I've ever worked at.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the locations, you mean?
It was just so easy
It was,
to get
wasn't
around. And in some ways, to have that as your first World Cup.
No, but even
blessed, but
yeah, it was very simple in logistically. But I mean, I've been very lucky because my first tournament as a pundit, I was doing Brazil. I started, and I got to see so much of Brazil flying around.
Yeah,
to
that's
different
nice.
games. We were based in Rio, and then even in Russia, I saw places in Russia I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And the difference in some of the cities and the cultures and the way people live, one extreme to the other. You know, I feel lucky that I've had those experiences, but from a tournament perspective and supporters, for them to actually have to go to different countries, it's asking a lot.
Well, I assume that the groups will be... But you're right, the knockout stages, who knows what's going to happen. And you're right, you don't... people can't even plan for it yet.
No.
So that's the other issue that they're going to have with it. Like I say, the Qatar one, it was much easier because fans could just put their hotel and they knew they weren't going to have to travel too far. But unfortunately, we're not going to have those kind of events as in terms of the compactness of places very often. But still, it's going to be exciting. And as we say, England should get it all done and dusted tomorrow with a win against Latvia live on talkSPORT, which will see them through to the World Cup. But we also have to keep an eye on what's happening with Wales, with Scotland, with Northern Ireland as well, because all those nations are in a good position to perhaps join England as well.
Well, I've always been a fan of all our home nations getting to tournaments because from a watching brief, it's more exciting. And they're all so brilliantly followed by their supporters as well. You know, I've been to Wales, Scotland games, Ireland games in past tournaments, and they just make it better. And I think also because we know the players so well, there's lots of stories and romantic stories around some of the lads that get there. I hope they all get there. I mean, it's unlikely because someone always falls away or loses a playoff game or whatever. But for Scotland especially, because of their lack of attendance in World Cups, it's a big one for them. You know, the Scottish people. It'd be nice for them. I think they've got enough to get it done. But yeah, Wales, big game for them tonight, is it? Belgium
tonight.
Difficult one. I actually think, because I think we talked about it last, or maybe we did on a different show, but I actually think playing England before you play Belgium is a good thing.
There was a lot of criticism, though, about that.
I get it. You're playing a really strong team with really good players, prepping you to play another really strong team. If you go the other way, you get a false sense of security that you're a good team and walk out to play Belgium.
Right.
You know, you've had a little bit of a doing against England. All of a sudden you go, that's not happening again. We're ready. Like, no. And you get to just do the similar. So the way they defended against England would probably be similar to how they defend. Well, the idea of how they were going to defend will be the same. Whereas if they were playing a lesser nation, they probably would have had more of the ball, played a bit differently, and then they're not prepping for the Belgium game. You're just physically going through it. So I actually thought it was quite clever. Might benefit them.
Well, we'll find out. Kicks off in around half an hour's time. And after the break, we'll give you a recap of the team news then ahead of that game, as well as Northern Ireland against Germany. England, Andorra in the under-21s. That's a friendly that's taking place. We're going to keep you updated on that one too. Plus, we're going to be on Darren Lewis watch. No idea where he is. Hopefully someone's been in touch with him, and we'll hopefully have him with us too. But from 8 o'clock, we'll be joined by Brentford Technical Director Lee Dykes too. So we've got a busy show. And by all means, please do get in touch here on Kickoff. Good evening. Welcome back to Kickoff here on talkSPORT, where we're keeping you regularly updated on the World Cup qualifiers that are taking place in this latest international break. We're going to bring you the very latest from the England press conference ahead of their qualifier with Latvia tomorrow night. That live on talkSPORT. But it is Natalie, Sawyer and Danny Murphy with you right now. We have tracked down Darren Lewis, but he's not here just yet. He'll be with us soon, though, which is all good. But as I say, we're keeping you across all of the World Cup qualifiers, and at 7:45 it will get underway between Wales and Belgium. So let's bring you a recap of the team news with Lawrence Mora. Evening, Lawrence.
Yeah, good evening, Natalie. Well, look, after the disappointment of Wembley, Friday night's goalless draw between Belgium and North Macedonia has definitely given Craig Bellamy's squad a spring back in their step. It means destiny's back in their own hands. Win 3 games, secure automatic World Cup qualification. Simple, right? North Macedonia are currently top, but win tonight, Wales go above them with 2 games to go. A draw puts Belgium top on goal difference. But that defeat against England has left Bellamy, Bellamy says, left bruised egos in his squad. Has seen the manager make some drastic changes. Brennan Johnson, Liam Cullen, Kiefer Moore and Jay Da Silva all dropped to the subs bench. Ben Cabango comes into defence, Jordan James bolsters midfield, Sorba Thomas replaces Johnson, and Oxford's Mark Harris leads the line, having only scored just once since Boxing Day last year. I think that lays bare the challenge that Wales face tonight. The Belgians may not be that vintage that sat at the world's #1, but De Bruyne, Doku, Courtois, Trossard, they're all in that starting 11. So the Wales team in full is Darlow in goals, a back four of Williams, Roden, Cabango, and captain Ben Davies on his 100th cap. Jordan James and Ethan Ampadu will anchor midfield, Harry Wilson in front of them, Brooks and Thomas the wide players, with Harris up top. A sold-out Cardiff City Stadium awaits Wales against Belgium.
Lawrence, thank you very much. And apart from goal difference, it's Germany who lead the way in Group A, but there are 3 teams level on 6 points, one of which is Northern Ireland, and they host Germany at Windsor Park. Keeping across this one for us will be Denise Watson. Denise, good evening.
Good evening, Natalie. Yes, there's so much belief in this Northern Ireland team, actually, after Friday's win over Slovakia. But as you say, it's wide open. They are missing their captain, Conor Bradley, though, the Liverpool player, suspended, and that is a real blow to Northern Ireland. Now, Michael Neal's side lost in Cologne, and the stats aren't great. They've lost 10 times the last time these two have met, so it's always gone Germany's way. But Northern Ireland make one enforced change, of course. Brodie Spencer's coming in for Bradley. So the team is Bailey Peacock-Farrell in goal. A back three of Trey Hume, who's going to captain the side instead of Bradley, Paddy McNair and Dan Ballard, Justin Devaney, Ali McCann, Shay Charles, Ethan Galbraith and Brodie Spencer in the midfield. And up front, they've kept faith with the two in the Slovakia game. That's Isaac Price and Jamie Reid. Their opponents, as we know, are world-class, 4 times champions, captained by Joshua Kimmich. Baumann is in goals. The aforementioned Kimmich, Ta, Schlotterbach and Rom are the back 4. Bayern's Pavlovic and Goretzka in midfield. Then you've got Liverpool's Florian Wirtz, Serge Gnabry, remember the former Arsenal player, Karim Adeyemi, and Newcastle's Nick Volder-Maddy up front. It is actually Michael O'Neill's 100th game in charge of Northern Ireland, and the hope is that he could take them closer to World Cup qualification in front of this home crowd. We know the Green and White Army are going to make it loud here tonight. It hasn't happened since 1986 qualification for a World Cup. It could tonight. We have to believe. Kick-off time at Windsor Park is 7:45.
Denise, thank you very much. And Julian Nagelsmann wasn't that complimentary about Northern Ireland. I don't know if you saw those comments, Danny. He didn't like their style of football, basically. I mean, everyone's different now.
Well, I think, he's always been quite strong in his opinions, to be fair to him, but there's a reality around what teams can do against you when you've got so many good players. They've got to adapt and be pragmatic, and there's no point bringing it up. I remember years ago when, do you remember Big Sam laughing in a press conference after they got a draw at Chelsea, Mourinho in the press conference whinging about his tactics? It's like, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Wherever you get a result.
Yeah, well, to be fair to him, he's struggling at the moment. And Germany is struggling. I think they've only won 1 or 2 of the last 6 or 7 games. So for a nation of their size and the quality they've got, that's not good enough. So he's under pressure. And when managers are under pressure, they do say silly things. Yeah. Like we all do.
Indeed, and started the campaign with a defeat, in fact, to Slovakia, but have won since in qualifying. But yeah, it's not been straightforward for them. Let's also check in with the under-21s, England in action as they host Andorra. This one a friendly, and Ian Abrahams will be at this one for us. Ian, hello.
Hello. Well, do you remember the long, hot summer that we had? And England won the European Championship at under-21 level for the 2nd time in a row. Well, their qualifying has already begun with 2 victories, one against Moldova, one against Kazakhstan, and tonight is their homecoming after that victory in the tournament in the summer. 3 changes to the side that won 4-0 away from home last time out. Ashley Phillips in for Achipom at the back. Josh King of Fulham makes his debut, replacing Tyler Dibbling, and Tyreek George, who came on in Moldova, he gets his first start. Divine Mavama drops to the bench. So James Beadland's in goal. It's Norton, Cuffy, Phillips, Elaine and Rico Lewis across the back. Archie Gray and the skipper tonight, Joe Bellingham, 2 in midfield. Then it's Josh King, Ethan Wanyeri and Jamie Gittins with Tyreek George, who is up top. England, this is their 3rd qualifying match tonight, so they'll play the same number as the 2 teams above them, Slovakia and the Republic of Ireland. They have a 100% record, so victory tonight would see them go to the top of the group. Lee Carsey's men should hopefully get the job done at what is at the moment a pretty wet Derby County Pride Park, where it's England against Andorra.
Ian, thank you very much. Yeah, I called it a friendly. It certainly is not. It is a qualifier indeed. Right, it's time for us to bring an odds update right now with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+gambleaware.org.
And let's say a very good evening to Alex Patty. How are you doing, Alex?
Yeah, very good. Both. Are you okay?
Yeah, very, very good. Thank you. And we're intrigued to see what's going to happen tonight with both Wales and Northern Ireland in action, Alex. So tell us what you think is going to happen in these games.
Well, this isn't what I think, but the odds are suggesting that Wales are the outsiders. They're around 4-1, Belgium 4-5, and the draw is just under 3-1. For context, I think Wales 9 years ago in this fixture were just over 5-1 in Euro 2016. So they have more chance now than they did when they won 3-1 back in France all those years ago. It is squeaky bum time. It's absolutely massive, isn't it? As is the game, I think, next month against North Macedonia, but we'll talk about that another time. So Wales, the outsiders here, but these two do like a draw as well. 4 draws in their last 9 meetings going back to 2013. So 3-1 for the points to be shared tonight. Wales, as I say, have 2 pretty decent wins under their belt against who they're playing, Belgium. Yeah, in the last few years, notably that one 9 years ago in the quarterfinal of the Euros. In Wales' favour, you would say Belgium are probably worse now than they were back then, but you could probably argue the same for Wales too. I think we're in for a good game tonight, though. Both teams to score is 3-4, and it's happened in the last 6 meetings between these two sides. So I don't think it's going to be a boring one. In terms of first goal scorers, massive chance for Mark Harris tonight. A real shake-up in that team sheet. I was surprised myself, but he's 11-1 to open the scoring. Leandro Trossard is 13-2 for the visitors. And for me, I think the home crowd will play a massive part here. I think we could be in for a historic night in Wales. So Wales to win and both teams to score. That's a 13-2 shot with Ladbrokes. And as things stand, I checked in with traders earlier, and this will change tonight, whatever the outcome. But Wales are currently 5-2 to make next year's World Cup.
Wow. Well, it's tight. It's tight, that group. Certainly, it's North Macedonia who lead the way, but a draw would be enough for Belgium to take top spot as things stand. And Wales, of course, well, they would need to win if they were to go to the top of the group. Where else are we looking for some value today and tonight, Alex?
Could you make a case for Northern Ireland? I don't know. They're 6-1. They've not beaten Germany since 1983 when Danny was a young whippersnapper himself. They're currently on a 10-game losing streak against tonight's opponents as well. But as you've already touched on, Germany aren't unbeatable. They've already lost in this group. Northern Ireland did worry them as well for 69 minutes. It was 1-1 in Cologne last month. So maybe Northern Ireland to win or draw at 2-1. And if you're interested, Northern Ireland and Wales both to win tonight. That's 33-1. And elsewhere, look, you've got 8 teams that are odds on across the board tonight. So Ukraine are massive favourites to beat Azerbaijan. So I think the 5-4 on Ukraine to win both halves there. They need to do a bit of work in their group and hope that France beat Iceland to give them just a little bit of breathing space. I think France do beat Iceland too. So France to win and keep a clean sheet against Iceland is 11-10, just over even money. France have conceded 1 in their 3 games so far, although that was against Iceland. So ignore what I just said. The double there, Ukraine to win both halves and France to win 0, that pays just under 4-1.
And quickly, tomorrow night, we're bringing Latvia against England live on talkSPORT. Our team already out in Riga. Obviously, it's going to be England all the way in terms of the overwhelming favourites for this one. So what chance do you give Latvia?
Well, £20 on England gets you £21, including your stake. £1 on Latvia gets you 34 quid. England played 5, won 5. It will be 6-6 by close of play tomorrow night, surely. Still yet to concede a goal in this competition, in the qualifying campaign. Scored 13. So far, I think England in this campaign have won 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 and 5-0. The 4-0 is missing, and I think it might be coming. It's 5-1 for us to tick that box off tomorrow night. Harry Kane favourite, as always, to score first. Eze 9-2, Rashford 3-1, Saka 5-1. Mentioned England's defensive record. You think with this 3 games to go, Latvia, Albania and Serbia, the target now is to go all campaign without conceding, and I think it's possible. So for me, England to win, keep a clean sheet, and Saka to score any time looks like a solid bet builder at 5-2.
Sounds good. Alex, enjoy tonight. Thank you very much. That was a look at the latest odds then with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
All right, I mentioned our teams already in Riga ahead of Latvia against England. We're going to cross there next for you and bring you the very latest from Thomas Tuchel's press conference.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend. Even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there actually any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads for a century. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. His Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this kind of protection was pretty important for footballers. And so, in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says they must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, even though there have been calls for it to be changed. But for now, that's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no big.
So to another qualifier. So far, it's a campaign full of flawless results, but full of flawed performances.
Not a performance that makes you think that anything has changed. And England have beaten Albania by 2-0.
Thomas Tuchel said he wanted to entertain us. That simply is not happening.
More boos from the England fans that have stayed in. Very little to write home about. Andorra nil, England won.
We were reminded yesterday that it is a process that has to be done step by step.
Over time, I think you're going to see a team that's how he really wants to work.
A stunning performance and a quite magnificent victory. 5-0.
There's enough talent in this squad to be brilliant on their day. There's no doubt about that.
Saka turning it onto his left foot. Oh, it's a beautiful goal.
We want to have both foots and the body and everything on the plane, of course, but next obstacles to overcome, and we need to be ready.
The passport to the World Cup if they can win in Latvia.
Welcome along to kick off this Monday evening here on talkSPORT, and you're in the company of Danny Murphy and Natalie Sawyer. And yes, tomorrow night we are bringing you England's latest qualifiers. They look to secure their spot at the World Cup for next year. So it's time now for us to look at the latest football action with Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And ahead of that game tomorrow night, England have held their latest and last press conference. So let's take you to Riga and speak to our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers, who is out there, who can bring us all the details. Evening to you, Faye. How are you doing? How is Riga treating you?
Oh, Natalie, it's lovely. You'd love it out here. It's such a beautiful city. The England fans have started to make their way over today as well. But the little market squares and memorials and everything, it's been lovely, I have to say. The weather, though, has not. It's been hammering it down with rain this afternoon, and it's absolutely freezing. I am very grateful this is my last live of the day.
Well, we appreciate you sticking with the cold and speaking to us as well. But so tell us then who we heard from today and any of the sort of key lines that came out from the latest press conference.
Yes, we heard from Thomas Tuchel and from Jordan Pickford. I wasn't in their press conferences because I was doing one-to-ones with them out in the corridor of the stadium, which is just behind me. But both in really good form, having travelled over literally just an hour before they came in front of us and spoke to the press. And for Jordan Pickford, if he's selected tomorrow, which bearing in mind he was in front of him talking to us today, you'd expect him to be, would be making his 80th cap. Of course, broke the record, 8 consecutive clean sheets in the last game against Wales, and he could break another record in terms of minutes since he last conceded a goal. He's on, I think the record is 726 currently, which he made himself back in 2021. And if he breaks it, he just needs to keep a clean sheet for 7 minutes to have broken it. So he was in really good form. Talking about Everton as well, because we're expecting to hear that his Everton contract will be extended, long-term deal for him as well. So he was talking about the impact that he's made at the club and what he loves about it. And then Thomas Tuchel was talking about the team spirit again within the side. Harry Kane is back fit, which is great news. Obviously, we lost Ollie Watkins earlier on today. He's gone back to Aston Villa, hasn't recovered from that knock that he suffered against Wales. But yeah, everyone's fighting for their places again.
Well, we will hear some of that Thomas Tuchel chat a little bit later on in the show. We look forward to that. But like you say, good news on Harry Kane, less so on Ollie Watkins, unfortunately, but hopefully just precautionary from an Aston Villa perspective. Obviously, when you look at the qualification campaign so far, it's pretty flawless for England. Not yet conceded a goal. OK, some of the performance at the earlier sort of period, you could question Andorra, for example, but still, they've done what they expected to do and hopefully will get the job done tomorrow. What's the atmosphere been like then in the England camp?
Yeah, pretty decent from what I've seen. They were training at Tottenham yesterday. We'd already flown out to Riga, so I didn't see the players, but certainly in the tunnel after the Wales win on Thursday night, the players were in really good form, were really happy with the performance. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel wanted a little bit more from them in the second half. You know, the opening half an hour was electric and it was brilliant, building on that performance that they put out in Belgrade last month. And, you know, this is what Thomas Tuchel keeps mentioning, the team spirit that they're starting to bring together, and Declan Rice spoke to me about that in Serbia as well. And you know, those kind of things are really important going into a major tournament, and the momentum, because actually next month in November it's the last 2 competitive matches that they're going to be facing before they head out to the World Cup, because they can secure qualification tomorrow with a win against Latvia because of Albania's win over Serbia on Saturday, and other results in the group as well. So it feels like a formality now. But when I spoke to Thomas Tuchel earlier on, he insisted he still wasn't really planning what he was going to do for the November camp. In fact, he said in the press conference as well, he's not selected his 11 yet for tomorrow. He's still not 100% sure what he's going to do, because they are all fighting for their place and the competition's on.
Faye, there's lots of positives, but I just wanted to take you back just a minute to the keeper situation, because I was having this conversation the other day. Obviously, Pickford's number one and deservedly so, great stats and a great England career, but it just surprises me in the friendlies where he continually picks him when there is always a chance injury or something can happen to Pickford where he doesn't seem to want to give the other keepers any experience in these international games. Has that been mentioned or brought up to him at all?
No, not really. I mean, the thing is, he always speaks really highly of Jordan Pickford, and I think, you know, Dean Henderson, as an example, would be a player who would walk straight in, and he did play Dean Henderson in the Senegal game, but of course they lost that game 3-1, which, you know, Dean Henderson would be really disappointed conceding 3 goals, whereas Jordan Pickford, I know different quality of opposition, but you know, hasn't conceded 8 clean sheets. He's on 41 clean sheets now for England in total, and I think you need the spine of the team. You know, it's why we see Harry Kane most games. It's why we see Declan Rice. That spine of the team, that consistency, as you say, is really important. And you know, particularly because we haven't had the consistency which we had for so many years with John Stones and Harry Maguire as the 2 centre-back pairings. We've had so many different centre-back pairings over the last year to 18 months with injury and various other things, that actually having the goalkeeper as the main consistent, I think, is quite important.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad you mentioned Stones and Gay, because I don't know, Stones hasn't played a lot, has he, in recent times? We know that through injury and stuff.
No.
That partnership, I think, could be crucial going forward, because it's just that big game nous, that winning mentality that he's got, that some of the other pretenders for that position don't have.
Yeah, it's fascinating you say that, actually, because Thomas Tuchel, when I asked him earlier on about the players, he keeps talking about the players that are driving the standards in training. And I mentioned Jordan Henderson, Harry Kane, Declan Rice that he mentioned, and he immediately jumped in John Stones.
Did he?
You know, he's very keen to be integrating John Stones back in. You know, it's why he came out to Spain for that Barcelona camp, even though he wasn't fit for that Andorra game that was played in Barcelona. And, you know, he is really important, John Stones. He's such a calming influence. We know what he's done, we know what he's won, and actually I agree with you, that partnership with Mark Gahey is really important. But Ezri Konsa is also an excellent centre-back and can step in and play that role as well, and of course he has versatility, can play on the right-hand side as well. So the fact that there are 3, and of course, you know, let's not forget Dan Burn as well. Dan Burn has been a consistent performer for Thomas Tuchel when he's been called up. He's been called up to every camp that Thomas Tuchel has selected so far. You know, there is strength in depth there where maybe there wasn't in the past, but I agree with you. John Stones and Mark Gahey for me are the solid 2. We just need to keep John Stones fit.
And I know you mentioned it already, the fact that he said he didn't know his starting 11 for tomorrow, and that then makes you wonder what's going to happen going into the November internationals with the qualifiers. If they get the job done tomorrow, then you wonder how much he will tinker with it. But he does seem to be a manager that likes to have the settled consistency, that the word that we've already been using, just discussing it, that, you know, the likes of Jude Bellingham and Jack Grealish and Phil Foden, whoever it is, they've got a lot of work to do, it feels, to kind of catch his eye once more.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, he's laid down the challenge for them. Without a doubt, they have to perform consistently to fight their way back into the team. There'll always be opportunities because there'll always be injuries. You know, I've said this on air before as well. I love Bukayo Saka. He's always been my first pick on the right wing for England, without a doubt. But the performances that Noni Madueke has put in since Thomas Tuchel's been in charge, when Bukayo has been out injured, have made him undroppable, really, when you think of the stats. But because he was injured, obviously Bukayo comes back into the side. So that's going to be a really interesting battle as well. Although, you know, when Noni is back fit, he is always keen to say he plays on both sides. So the competition is on for every single player, regardless of the history that they've had with England in the past. And I think that's going to get the best out of all of the players. He talked about wanting the players that weren't involved in this squad to have the hunger and the desire to fight for their place to get back in, and for the players that are involved in the squad to have the hunger and the desire to keep hold of their shirt. And that's obviously going to make for a fascinating competition and a fascinating headache, a good headache for an England manager to have when he comes to selecting the 26 players that he's going to take to North America.
Indeed. It's been a busy day for you. It's now time to get in the warm. So thank you very much.
Don't have a wine, Faye. Don't have a bottle of wine.
Thanks,
indulge in the Riga hospitality.
Yeah. Red one.
Fabulous.
Thank you very much. See you both later.
And of course, Faye will be part of our team, bringing you the game live tomorrow night. It kicks off at 7:45 as Latvia then host England, as Thomas Tuchel's side look to get the job done and book their place at the World Cup for next year. Don't forget, tonight we're keeping you across the qualifiers that are taking place this evening, with Wales and Northern Ireland both still in contention to book their place in the finals too. We'll keep you updated on how they fare. But that was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Good evening, this is Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Pleasure to have your company this Monday evening. Danny Murphy is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer. Darren Lewis will be with us shortly too. And from 8 o'clock, we're going to be joined by the Brentford Technical Director, Lee Dykes, to talk all things the Bees. You're right. Making your way in.
Sorry.
I feel like it's a bit of a calamitous evening. Darren Lewis, you just popping in when you fancy it.
No, that's not fair.
No, I know.
I got cornered.
You did. You're speaking to our guest.
No, I wasn't actually.
Okay, right. I'm just trying to big it up to our listeners. But anyway, just moments ago, we obviously spoke to our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers, who had a little sit down with Thomas Tuchel ahead of the latest qualifier for England, which is in Latvia, live on talkSPORT tomorrow night. So this is a little bit of that conversation that Faye had then with the England boss.
Thomas, qualification will be sealed tomorrow night with a win. How do you approach this game?
Yeah, we want to win. We want to show the next good performance. We build now step after step, game after game, and we want to take the next step. We had good training days, enough days to recover from our win against Wales, and want to grab the next one.
Elliot Anderson has impressed when he's put on an England shirt, could make his third start for you. What's impressed you most about him?
the way he fits in so seamlessly. It seems without any effort almost, but he puts in a lot of effort. But he makes it look easy. This is maybe the most impressive thing. He's very confident on the ball. He wants to have every ball. He wants to be involved. He's never hiding. He even after a mistake, he had a slightly mistake in the beginning, quite a big one in the Serbia game, and straight away wanted the next ball and the next ball. So he's very confident and believes in himself. Plays according to the plan, and the team makes it easy for him to fit in. So at the moment he's very good in training and very quiet, but he's the full package. Is good.
This is a year now that you've been officially in charge, and you talked about the difference between club and international football. How have you enjoyed your life as an international manager over the past 10 months?
More and more. I started on the 1st of January officially. I just had a press conference earlier, but the official start was in January. More and more I like it, more and more, because I find what I hoped finding. I found an excellent group of players. I love the players, I love the character of the players, and to have the chance to work so closely with them and to work with so many top players from different clubs is a pleasure. To be England coach is an honour. Nothing else but an honour, so I will give my very best for the best results, and I'm happy at the place where I am, so keep on going.
Okay, I'm sure you'll hear more from Faye's chat with Thomas Tuchel ahead of that kick-off from tomorrow night. 7:45 it gets underway, but as I say, I'm sure you'll hear plenty more from that conversation throughout here on talkSPORT, building up to it. Just quickly, before we move on to Scotland, who have won their last 2 games but have been booed off in both of them. How do you assess England right now under Thomas Tuchel?
I think the obvious thing I've seen is a more front-footed England, really go after teams and press them, which is easy to do when you play in poor opposition generally. It's not as easy to do when you're playing good teams who can play through the lines and cause you problems, and then you back off. But I don't see him being negative or pragmatic in any way. I think whoever he plays against, he's going to go after them and try and win games that way, because that's what he's done in nearly all the games we've seen. Now, it hasn't always been easy to do that because you're playing teams who bank up, don't really want the ball, so it's just going long and then you're building up again. But I don't think we're going to see England in the World Cup go on the back foot. There might be...
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So if they're coming up against elite competition, you don't see a change at all?
No,
okay.
I think... We've seen in his club management he's adaptable. If you're playing in 35-degree heat against Spain and you think you're going to press them for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're naive. So you come up with a different plan. Of course you do. And you might play with types of players who are better on the counter, or you're going to be stuck in for parts of the game. But generally, I think he feels like the group's good enough, athletic enough to go after teams. Probably only maybe the Spanish I can think of where you would maybe should tweak the plan. Everybody else, we've got enough to go after them and beat them. The French are a good side, but I still don't look at the French team and think, be scared.
Not scared. All right.
No. The Spanish are the ones, the real technical team that you've got to be really careful when you press. But I don't see Tuchel, especially in the short-term aspect of the job. If he's going to go out and fail, at least fail on your shield, because he knows the criticism of Gareth. He's spoken about it himself, a team that's been playing in a certain way that's not got quite 100% belief in its ability and going to try and win the game. So I don't think what would be the point of him trying to do it that way. We won't see that, and that's the biggest thing. And I also like the fact he's got some courage about him. He doesn't mind making big decisions. And ultimately, what does that mean? It'll mean that even if you disagree with some of his choices, I don't see a game or a situation where he won't make early decisions in games, and if you're not doing it, you'll be off. And that's ultimately where Gareth failed where a lot of people think he failed was the in-game management. But Tuchel looks very decisive. So I'm positive about it. Ultimately, you could have Pep Guardiola in charge, Jurgen Klopp, it doesn't matter. International level, tournament football, you need a bit of luck. Because when you play the best teams, one decision doesn't go your way, someone misses a pen, one hits the post instead of going in, somebody gets a red card that never was. We've seen it in how many tournaments?
Yeah.
So he's going to need a little bit of luck to win it, but he's doing a lot of good things I think people like.
Just quickly before we move on to Scotland, Jude Bellingham obviously not involved, as we know, in this latest squad, despite the fact he'd said he was available, he's ready to play, but fit. Let's quickly go to a goal at the Cardiff City Stadium where Wales are taking on Belgium in their World Cup qualifier. Lawrence Moura.
They made the worst possible start at Wembley, but it's Wales 1, Belgium 0 after just 7 minutes at the Cardiff City Stadium. Sorba Thomas has swung in a corner from the left-hand side. Joe Rodon, big and strong, up on the 6-yard box. His header down into the ground and up into the top corner. Wales off to a flyer. It's Wales 1, Belgium 0.
Oh, that's exactly what that Wales crowd would have wanted. That early goal to lift the spirits, no doubt. And you never know. They might be able to get that job done. And it's a goal that will take them and does take them to the top of the table as things stand. Very quickly, I was going to say Jude Bellingham. Not involved. He has declared that he was fit, ready, wanted to be available, wanted to be picked as well. But that wasn't the case. Is this just a matter of he's still going to be involved at the World Cup? There's not any other issues at play in this one. He's too important to not have at the World Cup.
100%.
Yeah.
He's the best we've got. He's on a different level because of his mentality and his ability to produce in big moments. He continually does it and done it from a young age. He's walked into Madrid, done what he did there. For England in the tournaments, he's been tremendous. Big moments, kept them in it. Every time I watch it, well, not every, I'd say 7 out of 10 I watch him, he's the best player. He tries anything to impact the game. He just plays with no fear. I love his mentality where he's rollicking other players. I love the fact he doesn't care and he'll show his
How would a
passion.
senior player react to that? Does that matter? Because he's still a young player, even though experienced.
I think if you're playing for England and you're not able to cope with somebody demanding more from you, then you maybe shouldn't be there.
Okay.
My education in football was that, you learn from those moments and you do better to prove those people wrong. And if someone's demanding more from you, it reminds me of Stevie. Stevie, when he came into Liverpool squad and team, was a young lad. And really quickly he was demanding off others. He'd rocket somebody. And he'd influence you by the way he played and conducted himself on the pitch. Just the tenacity and athleticism and the willingness to win. And Jude shows that all the time. We have got less chance of winning the World Cup if he's not playing.
Okay, so for you, he's a definite in that.
If he's fit, he starts.
Yeah. Definite in the 26 and definite in 11 as well for you. All right, then. Right, we will take a break. When we return, we will bring you our next studio guest, which is the Brentford Technical Director, Lee Dykes, who will join us to talk all things recruitment, how Keith Andrews perhaps was selected as the new manager to take over from Thomas Frank. Plus, of course, we'll keep you updated on how Wales are getting on against Belgium. Likewise, Northern Ireland against Germany too in those World Cup qualifiers. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT.
Life after football. For a lot of players, it means going into punditry. Some turn to coaching or working in the game in other ways. But what about the rest? Some former footballers turn their sights away from the game, and there are a few big surprises. First up, from rainbow flicks to pancake flips. Ex-Chelsea and Southampton defender Ken Monku switched up his footballing career to buy a Dutch pancake house. He bought out the shop, which had been his favourite pancake spot as a child, and before long he was mixing the batter and getting behind the stove. Next, Everton legend Thomas Gravesen swapped out the high stakes of the Premier League for those of the poker room. He made over 150 appearances for the Toffees and won the Scottish Premier League with Celtic. Turned out the Danish international was pretty darn good at poker. He racked up a reported £100 million from his Las Vegas adventures. Remember former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech? Turns out football nets weren't the only goals he was pretty handy in front of. After retirement, he became a goaltender in ice hockey. Same skills, very different surface. And he even won a Division 2 title with Guildford Phoenix. For ex-Liverpool centre-back Daniel Agger, it wasn't just fancy footwork that was in his blood. He was also pretty good with his hands. The Denmark international turned to tattoo artistry after he hung up his boots. He'd qualified as a skin artist while at Anfield, and he then became the co-owner of his own tattoo company as well. It's not all glamour for ex-pros, though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf, the former Chelsea defender, was part of the 1998 France squad who won the World Cup. He ended up marking Brazil's Ronaldo in the final and helped his side to a 3-0 win. But Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything.
I embrace the career of acting, so I want to learn more. So seeing lots of movies is a part of my job.
To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Good evening, this is Kickoff on talkSPORT, and thank you very much for joining us this Monday evening. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and there was once two, there's now four here in the studio. Danny Murphy is... yes, 1 hour of just myself and Danny Murphy. But Darren Lewis is here. How are you, Darren?
I'm all right.
You all right? Okay, all good.
Yeah. Do you know what? I probably should tell you the story.
Please do.
You know, I'm the president of the Sports Journalists Association.
Yes.
You know, I can never say no.
Oh,
yeah.
Here we go.
So,
Hobnobbing.
No. I've just been going to talk to some kids. But what I've been doing for the last few weeks down in Brighton, I've been going to one of the colleges there. That's why I've been cutting it fine. And
you have
sometimes when you last couple of weeks. And ironically, this is the last week I'm due to do it. Yeah. So I go down there, get caught short, no battery on the phone. Hence not being able to check in.
All right.
But I am here.
We'll
The
let
kids,
you off.
I love the kids. I love you guys. I'm with you always.
Well, we appreciate you making the trip then back to us, despite all the issues that you might have had with the phone, and it obviously overran as well, I guess, because people want to know all about you because you had a pretty good career when it comes to the media. Talking of careers, and we're moving on from you. Talking of careers, it's only right that we talk about the life of a technical director, and I'm very pleased to say joining us here in the studio is the Brentford technical director, Lee Dykes. How you doing, Lee?
Really good. Good evening.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here. I used to listen to talkSPORT for many years, decades ago. I don't have the time now, Natalie. Whenever you're on, I try and make content.
That's very kind. That's very kind. Before we hear more from you, we are keeping everyone across what's happening in the World Cup qualifiers, and we have to go back to Cardiff with the Wales-Belgium game because there is another goal. Lawrence Mora.
Wales 1, Belgium 1, the equaliser from the penalty spot by Kevin De Bruyne. Wales will feel very hard done by. The ball was hit against Ethan Ampadu's hand from around about a yard or two, but I think the referee went over, and as soon as he went over and watched the replays, no doubt in his mind, penalty kick, and in front of the Canton stand, De Bruyne right-footed into the bottom corner, and Belgium are level. Wow, what an 18 minutes we've had. Wales 1, Belgium 1.
I saw that. That was a ridiculous decision.
The handball?
Ridiculous.
Oh. So what?
Honestly.
So it shouldn't be a handball, is what you're saying?
He's a yard away. His arm's a little bit...
And who gave that? Was it the ref or the VAR?
I'm not sure, but I've just seen the replay, and it's it wouldn't be given in the Prem, I don't think. Because proximity is everything. His hand was a little bit, but when you're never like this, with your hands to the side, that's just such a bad decision.
All right. Seems harsh then for Wales.
Bellamy's fuming, obviously.
Well, listen, at least they've scored in this one, Wales. So you never know. It's just it's a time to reset, go again, and you never know what could happen because there's still plenty of time to go in that game in Cardiff. Yet to see a goal in the game between Northern Ireland and Germany. But as I say, we'll keep you updated on both of those qualifiers. But as I say, Lee Dykes is here in the studio with us, and I suppose, Lee, the first thing we should ask is really a bit of background about you, really, and how it all started for you in football.
Yeah, it was a heck of a story, really, for me personally. I never played the game professionally. I was a lover of the game from an early age. Being in Hull, which is where I'm from, all them years ago, it was more of a rugby city than a football city at that time. So I was a rugby league player, really, up until I wasn't. Just sort of started coaching at a young age, and eventually found my route into recruitment, which has sort of elevated me to the levels I'm at today. I always wondered why I wasn't recruited as a player. 6'3", quick, trampoline top. I could jump. I was brave.
Oh, the one that got away.
I know. We've all got stories like that. But yeah, just a keen interest in how recruitment worked. Sort of got me involved with that and took me away from a little bit of coaching. And to this day, I still love trying to unearth some gems.
Did you start the recruitment journey with youngsters? Or did you start at the adult level?
No, it was adult level.
Was it?
Yeah, it was adult. I was coaching youngsters at Rotherham United Youth Academy for 5 years. And then just an opportunity came up. I was doing a bit of, for my own personal development, I was doing a bit of opposition analysis. And sort of caught the eye of G. Evans, who's Steve Evans' brother. That was at Crawley Town at the time in the conference. And started working with those two guys and then worked through the divisions and now in the Premier League, and I'm very blessed to say that today.
Full disclosure, I've known you for a number of years, but you've always had a fantastic eye for a player. Where did that start?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't honestly tell you. I think eye for a player. Do you always look at a player and instantly know that it's a player for your team or a really good player for the future? I don't think you do. I think it goes in the devil of the detail, really, and really trying to do as much due diligence and watching of a player as possible. It's never about me when I'm recruiting players. It's always about a team of people, different eyes on the player, and more different eyes you get on a player. If they're all saying the same thing, it gives you some comfort that that's a player for you.
I just suppose that for a club like Brentford, where you've got to get it right, the team ethic is everything. So you don't just look for what they can do on the pitch. You look at their temperament and whether they can fit in to what Brentford are trying to do.
Yeah, I think at any club that I've been at, obviously we're speaking about Brentford now, you try and fit the player and the personality in amongst the talent as well with the club. you've always got a jigsaw already made, and you might have a few pieces to build. And it's about getting the right piece for the other pieces that are already there. So if you're signing a right winger, for example, and you've got a striker that loves sort of box entries, you're looking for a crosser of the ball. Very simple. Like that. It's never about what I like in players, because I recruit very different players to what Brentford want to recruit, probably. But it's about fitting a player into what the manager expects, and also what the club wants to sign in terms of asset value and future, uplift on investment and these kind of things.
Do you think you can overwatch? So I remember a great story. I was very lucky, brought up in the Crewe Academy, and I remember Dario telling me a story about Neil Lennon, who'd actually been released from Man City and came to Crewe, and he was the best player in the league. He was great for a couple of years. And Martin O'Neill was watching him and watching him and watching him and watching him. And Dario ended up, the story goes that he basically convinced Martin to do the deal because he wasn't sure. I think he went for about 400 grand, which was obviously a great signing. And he said to Martin, like, you're overwatching him. You're looking for things. You're finding little things the more you watch someone. Do you think you can overwatch?
I think he's bang on.
Yeah.
I think you get to that point when you're watching players and you're making decisions that's now an investment of millions for a club like Brentford. We have to be more right than wrong. And I think I think once you get to that point where you're absolutely 100% sure, the worst thing you can do is watch tons and tons of footage on top of it.
Yeah.
Because you've made a decision, and then you're trying to get to a point where you're trying to rectify your decision, maybe, or you're trying to substantiate your decision making. Yeah. And I always find that when I've presented a player to the hierarchy at any club, you've made the decision, then the more and more you watch, you have more and more questions. So I take that on board.
Let me just interrupt because there has been another goal. It's all happening in Cardiff. Lawrence Moore, which way has this one gone?
Wales 1, Belgium 2, and it's Thomas Meunier who has absolutely rifled this into the top of the net. It was a breakaway goal with Wales pushing Belgium back. Trossard picked up the ball in his own half, span, and then played a ball which looked like it was going to run out on the far side, but Doku's pace has got him to the byline. He's picked up the ball, set up Meunier on the run, and he has lashed it into the top corner. I think Carl Darlow might be slightly disappointed that he's beaten at his front post there, but it was an incredible breakaway goal for Belgium, and Wales have it all to do. Wales 1, Belgium 2.
Oh, it started off so well for Wales, but Belgium now 2-1 ahead in that game. We are going to talk more about sort of the recruitment side of things at Brentford in particular, because Moneyball is a word that's been used many times when it comes to the club, but I know that's something in the past that Brentford have, as much as there is an element of it that's true, that they also like to steer away from, but we'll come to that a little bit later on. What I'm intrigued to know is the difference between a technical director and maybe a director of football or a sporting director. What is the difference?
It's a great question. We could be here all night. I think it's the roles and the titles at different clubs will mean different things. Our Brentford technical director reports into the director of football. That's Phil Giles. And it's everything technically based. So it's recruiting players. But as you know, when you bring players in, there's lots of work to do to realise the promise to the player. So making sure that pathway goes right. So because sometimes it can be over years, not months. And dealing with, maybe exit plans for players if they need to go on loan, come back, and eventually get into the first team. Analysis is a big part, working closely with the head coach, making sure you understand what the head coach is thinking and wanting is really key aspect, I think. So being around the training ground, you build up good relationships with players because usually you're the first face that they see. So a lot of the times players warm towards you, and if you're around the training ground, they'll tell you things that maybe they won't tell other people. So yeah, just being around the training ground, but very much bringing players into the club and making sure that we can deliver on the plan.
What's quite interesting is that you asked about the difference between a sporting director and a technical director. And then you said you're reporting to the director of football. Most people listening don't know the difference between all three of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but what he's saying is, and I've heard this as well, because I've got friends who do different roles, and it's very club dependent. And the title can change and be the same role at two. So you might have a different title than someone in another club, but does similar roles to you. And I don't think it's...
I suppose that's what I'm driving at. I mean, there will be loads of people driving around now or listening at home while they're doing whatever who will say, I'm still none the wiser. Does that make sense?
I think the key difference for me, the way I understand it, is, and again, there's no right and wrong way of working in this particular role. And I still believe we're finding out about the role.
Yes.
I think if you're a technical director, you work with a head coach. You work or alongside a manager, and you got a very clear plan around your roles and responsibilities. And you're there to support the coach, and you're there to work with them and make sure that you're delivering on players, especially in conjunction with a game plan. As a director of football or a sporting director, I think you are the head of football, right, and therefore the coach or the manager will report into your role. That's the key difference that I see. But those roles are also named technical director in a few of the clubs, and those roles are alongside the head coach. So it's very bespoke to the club, but they're the key differences I would expect when I hear the different titles.
Sure.
All right, we'll take a break, but the last question I want to ask you, which we didn't find out, Hull FC or Hull KR?
Hull FC.
Oh, so you,
unfortunately.
So you're a bit gutted with the challenge.
Not good.
Super League.
I'm pleased for Hull in general.
Yeah.
So I grew up around the red half of the city.
Okay.
But family took me towards the black and whites.
Okay. We had to find out, didn't we? We will continue this discussion then and hone in on the Brentford side of recruitment and how that all works, and also the Keith Andrews appointment, which did surprise a lot of people, but maybe not to those involved at Brentford, because that does seem like the Brentford way. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes, because you're tuning in to kick off with Lee Dykes, the Brentford technical director, Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis and Natalie Sawyer too. You're tuning in to kick off here on talkSPORT this Monday evening, and we've got a busy studio because it is Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and the Brentford technical director Lee Dykes, who is in the studio alongside me, Natalie Sawyer, and we'll get into the Brentford recruitment and the appointment of Keith Andrews in just a moment, but we've got to check in with what's going on in the World Cup qualifiers. There's been a goal at Windsor Park where Northern Ireland are taking on Germany. Denise Watson.
Natalie, it's Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1. So disappointing. Newcastle United's Nick Voldemari on 31 minutes. He basically got onto the end of the corner. David Rum's corner coming in. As I say, really disappointing because Northern Ireland had Dan Ballard's goal disallowed on 13 minutes and had been doing so well in defence. But at Windsor Park with 34 minutes gone, it's Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1.
Denise, thank you very much. And despite going a goal up in their game at home to Belgium, Wales now trailed by 2-1, and they're into, half an hour or so played in that one. Let's also check in with what's happening in the England Under-21 European qualifier. They're hosting Andorra at Pride Park. Ian Abrahams is across it.
34 gone, England nil, Andorra nil, but England should be 4 up. Tyreek George of Chelsea curled one over the top early on. Jamie Gittins followed likewise. Ashley Phillips had a header cleared off the line from a corner, and Josh King of Fulham actually had the ball in the back of the net, but it was ruled out for offside. Apart from that, Lee Carsley's side have dominated completely. England nil, Andorra nil.
Ian, thank you very much. Right, let's get back onto the subject of Brentford, shall we? Because, as I mentioned, Lee Dykes, the technical director, is here in the studio with us. And we've already a little bit touched on the recruitment side of things and how Brentford go about it. But I did mention Moneyball as a term that was often used to refer to Brentford and how they go about their recruitment. It's not as simple as that, is it? There is more to it than just that, the stats and everything like that.
I think it's very simple. I think, the very clear and concise way of working Brentford have throughout the club is obviously apparent in recruitment. So we always, as a club, know what we're going to try and achieve in the next transfer window. And we have a lot of time to plan for that. Moneyball is a term often used. It's just colliding data with subjective opinion. That's what it is, and using data cleverly. Obviously, years and years ago, there was few Premier League clubs using data in recruitment, whereas now everybody's using it, and even into the Championship. So, Brentford 6-7 years ago saw a real opportunity utilising their own data model, because I think that's really important. I think sometimes people will come to me and say, "Oh yeah, we as a club we're using data, and they may be from European soil," but what Brentford have and also what Brighton have as well is their own bespoke data platform that's owned by themselves. So there lies the edge, if you like.
Have you ever seen a player who looked great, but the data said no? Or the player
says no?
Or maybe even a player where the data said absolutely, but you've looked at him and thought, no chance.
Yeah, and we've signed players that don't, stack up on the data. I think that's the beauty of Matt Benham. He trusts the people, right? And as long as you can substantiate, as long as you can give the argument in detail, using data and using subjective language, then he'll back you on it. I think that's one of his greatest traits as an owner. Like, he really does trust the people. And we've signed players, I won't name the players because I won't want to embarrass them.
Oh, go on.
I'll tell you afterwards. But we've signed players, that have done very well, go on to make, over 100 appearances in the Premier League for Brentford that maybe didn't stack up on the data at that time. But the data's a guide, and that's what it is. We don't make decisions with data. We let it inform us.
Because that's the thing. A lot of people just assumed it was just data driven. But you, of course, as you rightly pointed out, you actually do watch them. You do use your eyes as well, and that's key.
Also, it depends on the data. So if you look at Grealish as a great example of somebody whose numbers wouldn't be great, even in his best spell at City, he wasn't prolific with his numbers compared to a lot of other people who play that role. But what he does do, he's so unique with his strength and the ability to keep hold of the ball that he occupies other players and creates space for others. Now, how do you put that in data? And this is the thing and I think it's great, the response to hear that, because it would be naive to think that one club or any club would just go on data.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those big misconceptions. I mean, if you look at Voltemade, he's just scored there, right? That's his 6th goal in 9 games. He was slaughtered by the German media. People, really good judges like Uli Hoeneß and stuff.
Karl-Heinz
Rummenigge over there.
So scathing.
Slaughtering him. And yet, he has been sensational since he's arrived at Newcastle. Now, the data clearly suggested otherwise. How do you quantify that?
Yeah, I think who knows any player's value in today's market? It's driven by the individual windows, and let me tell you, goal scorers are hard to find. Yeah. So whatever Newcastle have paid for that player, they'll get it back.
You haven't struggled?
Well, they're seeing a return already, and now obviously it's a short period of time. With data, you like to take as big a sample size as possible, and that'll be to be determined. But he looks like a good player. I've watched lots of him in the German youth national team setup, and he's a real talent. He's a real problem for defenders. And I think, is one that the Newcastle fans are like a lot.
In terms of like Brentford, then once more, how have you found it in terms of we're now in the Premier League, we're established as a Premier League side? I say we because everyone knows I'm Brentford. But have you found it more difficult to find players because of the competition elsewhere and the fact that maybe you're looking at players who you think can strengthen, but they might already be playing in sides that play in Europe, for example, like European continental competition, for example? Has it been more challenging than more years Brentford are in the Premier League?
I think it does become more challenging because the prices go up, they don't come down, so the stakes are high. I go back to that first summer of a window we had when we achieved Premier League status. And I'd go back, I say this all the time, I'd go back there tomorrow because the value was still there a little bit. Mm-hmm. But again, the cost of goals, the cost of impact in the Premier League, if you're looking for ready-made players, is so high it's beyond us. So we at Brentford, we have to give young players a chance. We have to find a cool squad balance. So your Jordan Hendersons are so important to Yeho Yarmouk, and for the club to see the real value in Yeho, they're going to need people like Jordan Henderson. So we try and find a balance. It's about building a squad, not just arriving at the best available players. And that's the way we try and be successful.
That's a really good shout. You mentioned Henderson. We've talked on this show the last couple of weeks about Jordan Henderson's impact. So it's not just young, untried talents that you look at. You look at players who can really come in and provide different things.
But the interesting thing about that is some people would look at Jordan's age and dismiss him straight away. But Brentford didn't do that, obviously.
Yeah, but I think just to add to that, I think what they do really well, and Brighton's another example with Milner, Welbeck. That's you lost Norgard, who is, although I'd say in terms of that calmness and that influence and experience that he had over a period of time playing at the level, you lose him. You need to fill the void with that.
Exactly.
You know, Jordan
what we
might
talked
not
about.
be there if Norgard hadn't gone.
Yes.
And it just makes sense to do that, doesn't it? Because of the character of the player. And we don't. There's not many teams over time who have great success without one of this. This is the old argument with Chelsea at the moment. Chelsea's recruitment is gone all in on the younger ones who've potential talent.
As you told me ages ago when McAllister came into Liverpool.
Gary Mack
came in, steadied that ship with his age, with his experience.
I think it's really important. And Henderson's already having an influence, isn't he?
Yeah, and he will do for England. You know, England are going to need that in the tournament next year for sure, in my opinion. Not just with Jordan, but with people that have been there, seen it and done it. I remember back in the Championship in 2019, so it was a crazy moment for me. I'd gone into the club. The most I'd been at a club who'd spent money on a player was 50k. And I'm coming into a club that's saying we've got 2 years opportunity to get in the Premier League because a lot of other Championship clubs had a restriction on spending. And all of a sudden we've spent plus 15 million on players, but there wasn't 19, 20, 21-year-old players. We signed Mbeumo that window. That was a really good signing. But Pontus Jansson, Ethan Pinnock was also very good signings to give people like Ollie Watkins, then Said Benrahma and Brian Mbeumo to go, the platform to go and do what they do. Now, you sign Pontus Jansson and Ethan Pinnock, albeit there might not be any resale value on those players. What you then do with Ollie Watkins' value and Said Benrahma's is you double it because you finish higher up the table, you're more successful as a club.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of the buy return of going for those more experienced players. And they're so important in the Premier League when you're up against it, when times are maybe a little bit more tougher than when it's going so well and you're in crowds of 60, 70,000 fans. You need people that can still put the foot on the ball. They don't want to hide from that situation and they can bring other people with them.
There has been a goal, I'm going to interrupt you, at Pride Park in England's Under-21s European Championship qualifier, taking on Andorra. Ian Abrahams.
Couple of minutes to half-time. England 1, Andorra 0. Chelsea's Tyreek George on his first start for the under-21s has fired home. Good work down the left-hand side by Jamie Gittins. Just smuggled the ball into George around about 6 yards out, left of centre from quite a tight angle. He's thrashed it past the goalkeeper into the roof of the net. England 1, Andorra 0.
More updates from Ian, likewise with Denise Watson at Windsor Park, and also from the Cardiff City Stadium with Lawrence Moore with Wales and Northern Ireland in World Cup qualifying action. We are going to take a break, and when we return, we'll talk more with the Brentford Technical Director Lee Dykes here on Kickoff. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 over gambleaware.org. We're keeping across the World Cup qualifiers as well as England under-21s in European Championship qualifying action. And it's half-time in their game with Andorra. Ian Abrahams.
England 1, Andorra 0. The goal scored by Chelsea's Tyreek Mitchell. A couple of minutes before half-time. Good shot as well from an acute angle, left-hand side of the penalty area into the roof of the net. England should be absolutely on easy street here because Phillips had a shot cleared off the line. Gittins, Norton, Cuffy, and also George, before he scored, curled one over, and Josh King had a goal disallowed for offside. This will not end 1-0. England 1, Andorra 0.
Ian, thank you very much. Here in the studio, it's Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy, and the Brentford Technical Director, Lee Dykes, who joins me, Natalie Sawyer, as well. And I suppose we should talk about Keith Andrews and how this appointment came about. But before that, really, in terms of Thomas Frank, who's obviously done such great work at Brentford and got the team into the Premier League after winning the Championship playoff final, and then has helped to establish them as the Premier League side it is today. There would have been a situation, I'm sure, where you and everyone involved at Brentford were preparing for life after Thomas Frank. But how did it all come about then with Keith Andrews being the man to come in to replace him?
Well, timing is everything in football. Over the last 2 or 3 summers, there's been interest in Thomas's services. And we always knew there'd be a day where he went on to bigger and better things with bigger clubs, although I do believe Brentford are a big club. And
you're going to get invited back, careful.
Yeah, and we are that club that obviously brings players and staff. You know, we've done it with various numbers of staff as well over the years, where they come in, they serve a few years, and then if they're ready to, they go on to bigger and better things. So we're always looking and researching the market to make sure we're ready for them moments. So we always knew when Keith joined us as set-piece coach, which he never contemplated in his life to be a set-piece coach, but he understood the value of coming into a well-oiled machine in Brentford, working with Thomas, developing himself. Always wanted to be a head coach one day.
Sorry, if Danny cracked his elbow and
I've got an injury, I have to do it.
I hate it. Do you not hear it? Oh, it's horrible.
This is an ongoing saga.
Sorry, I've interrupted.
Week after week. You're part of the family now.
Yeah. So Keith came in. We had a obviously over a year to look at him and see how he operated. And we believe a lot in Keith. A similar sort of situation to Thomas, where he was within the club already.
Mm-hmm.
When Dean moved on before my time, Thomas was obviously gifted the opportunity to take over, and that proved very successful for the club. And we didn't just do that for this reason. We looked around the marketplace and we felt that Keith was the best suited guy to take over from Thomas, from the people that we was looking at and speaking to at the time.
Let's just quickly bring a half-time update from Windsor Park, where Northern Ireland taking on Germany. Denise Watson.
Natalie, at half-time, it's Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1. Northern Ireland had done brilliantly against the sustained German pressure, but the opening goal coming on 31 minutes, a first international goal for the Newcastle United striker Nick Voldemari, whipping in a header off David Rum's corner. So disappointing, really disappointing, as Northern Ireland thought they'd taken the lead on 13 minutes when Dan Ballard poked in from close range, but Paddy McNair was deemed to have been offside in the build-up to the goal. What an opportunity Jamie Reid has just missed. Minutes from the half-time whistle, Ethan Galbraith beating 2 players in the area, but Reid just put too much on it. It went over the bar. In fact, he missed a sitter very like it against Slovakia on Friday night too. And Ali McCann had his chance just from outside the area, just before the whistle. It's all to play for here, Natalie, at half-time at Windsor Park in Belfast. Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1.
Yeah, 1 goal in it, and that's the same really in the game at the Cardiff City Stadium, where it's half-time too. Lawrence Mora.
Yeah, at the break, it's Wales 1, Belgium 2. The visitors ruthless as they overturned a stunning start from the home side. A succession of corners and free kicks were won early on before Sorba Thomas whipped one in from the left. Joe Roden bullied and fought his way to the middle of the goal and scored with his head. And that was just 8 minutes gone. Cymru were dreaming of the USA, but out of nowhere, a penalty got the visitors back into it. De Ketelier's shot hit Ethan Ampadu's hand, the midfielder only a yard away. I'm not sure it would have been given in the Premier League, but didn't matter. Kevin De Bruyne swept the penalty into the back of the net, and then a stunning breakaway goal to really puncture the atmosphere at the Cardiff City Stadium. Trossard with the ball deep in behind the Wales high line. Doku's pace got to the byline. He teed up Meunier on the run, who smashed the ball past Darlow at his front post into the roof of the net. These sides played out a 4-3 classic in the summer. If De Bruyne had dispatched a shot from the edge of the area, which looked to be set up perfectly for him, and if Harry Wilson had managed to find Mark Harris in the middle of the goal right at the end of the half, we could have had another 2 or 3 goals this evening already. So plenty of life left in this game, but as it stands, Wales 1, Belgium 2.
Lawrence, thank you very much. Continuing our conversation then with the Brentford technical director.
I've got a quick question.
Dykes. Go on.
That's all right. Lee, and I'm sure you're probably as much of an authority on this as Lee, but do you feel like Brentford are almost poor relations to Brighton? We rave about the business they do, the patience they show in managers, the conveyor belt of talent that they're so good at sourcing. But you guys, you've just gone through the managers that you've had, and people forget that Thomas Frank came in after Dean Richards. Dean Smith, forgive me.
Yeah.
Dean Smith, who came in and did a superb job. You mentioned Said Benrahma. You mentioned some of the other players that have come in, unheralded players who probably don't get the credit they deserve, but they're testament to your recruitment. And yet I see people all the time raving about Brighton. I wonder if it's because they sell players to bigger clubs, although you could argue, Brighton Mbeumo and a couple of others going to high-profile clubs. Exactly. So how do you feel about it? And I know you have to be diplomatic, so I can say it for you, but how do you both feel, actually?
Well, I'll go first.
Fair enough.
Brighton have a very good model, and it's very similar. I think Brighton has been in the Premier League a lot sooner than Brentford had been, and they probably was doing it sooner on the big stage than what Brentford was. Not going to compare the two clubs. I just think they both have fantastic models, in my opinion. I think they are an example of how to run clubs sustainably, no matter what change happens inside the club. They go for players that fit the club and not just the coaching staff, albeit at both clubs, I guarantee no players will be walking in them buildings without the coaches saying yes, because that's also the right way to do things. And a lot of work goes on behind the scenes in both clubs. I would imagine. I can speak for Brentford, where you're just trying to mitigate the risk all the time in key decisions in the club. And the way we do that, and the way Brighton obviously do that, is we use data to second guess ourselves. What I was just saying to Danny there, it's about your feeling as well. Effectively, it's Matt's feeling and Phil Giles' feeling at the end of the process. Where do they feel that this player is going to be a good fit for the club? Do they feel that Keith was the right person for the job at that time? Matt has obviously proved that he believes in internal promotions of young budding coaches. The same we do with players. We've got a player this year, Yeo Yarmouk, that was once a B team player, and he's been at the club actually 3 years, but he's just making his waves now. He's starting for you. Yeah, he's playing for Ukraine
tonight. That's the culture, isn't it? The culture enables them to do that. Enables Phil to be able to empower you guys.
So if that's the culture, and it's very similar at both clubs, and Brighton have done a fantastic job, and we try and do our job our way. And they're very similar models. There's obviously a link with the owners, which I won't go into for previous times, because Matt won't want me to speak about that. I'm sure Tony doesn't. But they're just two fine examples of leading the way in the game and punching above the weight against some superpowers in the big league. And now you're seeing the emergence of Bournemouth doing similar things. And I think both clubs pioneered the moment in that.
Do you ever see a time where Brentford won't be looked upon as a selling club?
Not while Matt's the owner, I don't think. I think it's the way we want to operate. We're very open with the fact that, players and staff members will come into us, and they will, if everything goes right, they will go and test themselves at a high level. We're okay with that. We just need to be ready to replace those.
Is that part of it, in a way, the USP as well, to get those players to come in?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. You have to. We're definitely not going to be the highest payers. So whilst we're in the Premier League, we have to offer the chance to play. Players want to play, and they know if they play regularly, in a good environment such as Brentford and Brighton and Bournemouth. You know, they're playing football regularly in the Premier League. They know that it's going to come to them in the end. You know, avoid injury, stay true to the game plan at Brentford or Brighton or Bournemouth, and stay true to what the plan is when you're discussing coming to the club, and it'll come to you. And Brian and Wemo is a prime example of that. You know, he joined us in the Championship. He could have gone to Liga. He had a little bit of interest from the Premier League at the time. He bought into the plan. We told him he was going to play. He came in. People forget in that first Championship season, he scored 17 goals and 9 assists. He was a big part of the BMW. There wasn't just two others, you know. And he's been massive for us in the Premier League, and now was the time. It was right time for Brian to go and play for a big club.
What is the best league now, as a talent spotter, as you are, what's the best league for value right now?
I honestly, I avoid that question, like playing a little bit, because the player can come from anywhere. Yeah. He can literally come. You just have
there's
to.
a lot of players who, like, for example, a player's numbers can look fantastic if they come from the Eredivisie. But it, as Danny will attest, the challenges in a league like that are nowhere near the challenges in, say, the German league, where players come across and they adapt better. The French league, where there is a lot of success. You mentioned Ben Rama and other players have come there. West Ham have found it to be a really successful hunting ground. So I can. They're going to throw me out for saying this, but I would challenge that. Yeah?
No, there's key markets. But what I'm saying is, you've got to be, if you have your eyes on your key markets only, you're going to lose out, because the value as well is further away in terms of the level. So the key markets are obviously the top 5 leagues. The absolute key market is the Premier League. Yeah. You know, if you get an opportunity to take a player from the Premier League, like we just have with Dango Ouattara, then you take that opportunity. But our interest in Dango started in France. Yeah. So as long as you've done your body of work, the player can come from anywhere. The Championship for years, and still is still a key market, because you're taking a player from a level in the country, so there's no real adaptation needed, which is a big thing for players sometimes when they come across, especially if you're recruiting from cross-continent. But in the Championship, you can bring a player into your squad, and you can give them the time to just notch up a level. Then that's still a key market for me. We still look inside of England quite a lot.
I'm not sure enough clubs do, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Wrong. It doesn't feel like enough Championship quality comes up.
Yeah.
Now, you'll know more than me, but I was watching the lad last year at Coventry quite a bit, Rodoni. And I thought he's a big lad, and he nice technical play, scores a goal, and he didn't get. No. I was surprised, and maybe it's the price, maybe, I don't know. But
whereas if you look at an Ollie,
that's just one example.
It was terrific in the Championship, steps up. You know, people doubt him. He's scoring goals for England at European Championship quarter-final level, quarter-final, semi-final.
Semi-final.
Semi-final. That's right. Yeah. And you know, I just think that he is basically emblematic of what you're saying. That there is this almost fashionable move to look abroad when there is real talent in the lower leagues in this country.
Yeah, I think so. Both those players, Rodoni at Wimbledon and Ollie Watkins at Exeter, came through the lower levels of English football, and they've rose through the levels, and they've earned their right to play at the top level. I really like that story. If you can find those players that are sort of progressing up the leagues.
Because you were championing Watkins when he was at Exeter, weren't you?
No, that was before my time. He knocked my Carlisle United team out of the playoffs, actually, so I wasn't his biggest fan at the time.
So you did know him. That's my point.
But we did, yeah. But even, you know, you talk now about Anton Semenyo, who was at Bristol City, and he was on loan at Newport. Yeah. So these players that sort of got the grazes on the knees coming up through the levels, they're still there. It's just, you know, you've seen it. You know, I was just watching there, Galbraith, that's come through the levels, dropped out United, who come through the levels. So you've got to spot those players, but wait for the right time.
Yes.
You know, you talk about Rodoni. Rodoni has come through the levels, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Premier League clubs are looking at him, just waiting for the right time to add him to the team. Now, he might not want to go anywhere because he's in a very good position now with his club, and that might be his route. So the players are there in England. The key difference, though, is the prices and the premium associated to young, homegrown, talented football players
has gone through the roof,
especially since, you know, the Brexit came into play. You now need, obviously, visa points to get into the country.
So I'm going to say a mortgage.
so the prices to take a player from France or Spain or Italy maybe less than what
are we hurting ourselves with that?
We are, but clubs are not daft. If they've got a young homegrown English player that they think's got a chance of high levels of football, they're going to hold on to him until they get a pretty penny for that.
I went to see last season. It was. I went back to Crewe to meet the chairman, have a chat with him about, because Crewe for many years, as you know, you're well aware, they rely on youth, and every now and again one of us would jump up and go to the Prem and a big club, and there's lots of success stories doing that, going back to Platty really. And they were saying now that they tend to sell their best players now to the Championship for some of the reasons you talked about. I think also the other reason is the Premier League being so elite now and the destiny for everyone, and the markets being so wide, is that the gaps are limited for those young players, because a lot of them, the academies as well in the Premier League, they've got a lot of good young players before they even go down.
Well, I was only making my point because I think what a lot of the German and French clubs are doing is taking our young players and depriving Premier League clubs of those talents, or sharpening up those. You've got clubs like Bayern and Dortmund who are looking at Championship clubs or lower Premier League clubs and pinching them and saying, we're going to give you regular first team football. And they're depriving clubs in the top division of being able to take those young players and develop them even further.
We will carry on this conversation after the break, but we have to take a break. There's plenty more still to come here on Kickoff. Stay with us here on talkSPORT. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Thank you very much for being with us. It is Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis, Natalie Sawyer and the Brentford Technical Director Lee Dykes, who is with us here in the studio as we continue our conversation on Brentford. How do you assess Brentford today to the Brentford that came up, Lee?
Ooh,
I thought you were going to say compared to the Brentford we beat in the playoff years ago.
Do you know, I was there, Lee, as well.
Oh, were you?
I was there.
I was there. as well.
Was you?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question, Natalie. I think that we've evolved as a team and as a club. We're certainly a bigger club in terms of the employees of the club nowadays with the reintroduction of the academy. We obviously came up without an academy. We had a BT model. And I think we learn every year. We try and get better every day. That's on the football side and the non-football side. We've obviously been explored to a big commercial world now, being in the Premier League, and we're trying new and innovative ways off the pitch to try and maximise that. So I think we're a much bigger club, but I think, Matt and Phil and John Varney and Cliff Crown and the people at the top, they want us to remain true to what got us into the Premier League. So I think we have a very simplistic way of working. We're driven by data, but we're driven by strategy. We want to keep our feet on the ground. We're very humble, and we're grateful to be in the biggest, baddest league in the world. But, if I go back to 2019, I joined the club in the Championship, and they just finished mid-table in the Championship to a couple of weeks ago where we're coming off the pitch and we're disappointed that we haven't got a point against Manchester City at home. That's the difference. That's the expectations now that surround Brentford football.
Are you more ruthless in terms of what you charge for players, how long you hold on to players? Because you have every right to be given what you've done or given what you do for players. And I know what you said about you price in the fact that players will want to move on at some stage, but it's got to be right for you, I'm assuming. And the longer you stay in the Premier League, the more you can kind of, I don't want to say dig your heels in, but make that very clear to players in certain situations.
Yeah, I think
I want to say names so badly.
I think negotiation is the hardest thing.
I think we all know.
I think negotiation is the hardest thing. It's certainly something that doesn't really matter to the players, right? Because the players go from club A to club B, and the transfer value doesn't really matter to them.
But I would imagine when you first came up, and maybe you were as a club, you were a bit not naive, but you were new to the Premier League, and sometimes you could be browbeaten by, as you said, the superpowers. Some of the superpowers come along. We want this player. They drive up a hard bargain. Eventually, you have to roll over. Whereas, having been in the Premier League for as long as you have, you are able to turn around and say, no.
Yeah, I don't. Well, we wasn't faced with that problem the first 2 years in the Premier League because we kept our players, and players, didn't really have any sort of plans to move on because they was enjoying the ride with Brentford. We was establishing ourselves. People were playing. They were making names for themselves. But Matt and Phil, they definitely won't be rolled over at any point. They have a valuation. There's a lot of science and research that goes into them valuations, and it's true, not just at Brentford. If a club's going to sell a player in this day and age, then there has to be an appropriate value met for that player. And there's a lot of hard work and graft that goes into developing those players. There's a lot of time and energy from various people, not just coaches, but support staff, medical staff, performance staff, that all play a pretty big part in that player's journey. Player liaisons now. It's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
It is a big thing. You talk about injuries today in at the top level when players are out of the limelight and they're not being able to play the game that they love. It's about maximising their time whilst they're injured. And player care nowadays in football is a big thing. We have a really good player care department at Brentford, and it plays a key part. Even when, Danny, you're trying to sell Brentford to a player and you're bringing players in, they want to know how you're going to help them house in the area, how you're going to maximise their language learning, how you're going to talk to them about their game and their development, but also their people development skills. They may be 18 coming to a foreign country. Where their family going to live? How is their family going to be looked after? So there's lots and lots of things now around the player, away from the coaching field, that plays a big part.
Do you find just on that, because I know it does happen, but at different levels, the geography of Brentford is beneficial? Or do you not find out with the type of players you're trying to bring in, the more about the project?
It's on the presentation. So.
Is it?
Yeah, closeness to Heathrow and all these things.
Well, it must. I mean, when I was at Fulham, it was because a bit like yourselves, they weren't the biggest payers, but the people wanted to come because they want to be in London. You know, I remember Moussa Dembele when he left Fulham, actually, because he had the choice. Liverpool, Man U and Tottenham were in for him. And I remember him saying to me, which is amazing because he just doesn't get it, and what a player he was. He said to me, I'm not leaving London. I was like, Liverpool? He's like, no, I'm not leaving London.
I think it depends on
the play,
on yourself, your family network, do you have children, all these things. West side of London's a great place to live. It's obviously accessible with the airports, and you know, a lot of foreign-based players look at England. The first thing that comes to mind is London, right? So it does play a part. We try and sell it, but I would say that, you know, if it was Brentford, or I think there was a conversation from somebody previously, Brentford or Newcastle, you know, would people pick? I think they'd look at the competitions that was playing in. And
yeah, of course, yeah.
Just lastly then.
Can I get one before you do?
Quickly then, go on.
She's the Brentford fan. You've had a couple.
That's a good point.
And you turned up late, Natalie. Go on.
No, what I was going to ask, but obviously it's been a challenging summer in some ways, you know, losing the manager, losing key players, and losing key players as well that perhaps we weren't expecting to lose at the end of last season. I think a lot of people expected Brian, for example, to leave, but maybe not so much Christian Norgard and Johan Wisser to an extent too. Have the aims changed now for Brentford going into this season, and what you expect Keith Andrews to achieve?
Well, there's a lot of new at the club. New head coach, new coaching team. There's a lot of things that have changed in the background as well. And we're not going to shy away from the fact that we've lost two of our forward players that were starting players last season.
And scored a bagler.
Well, those front three last year, 50 Premier League goals between three players, which is ridiculous, really. You got your captain of many years leaving as well. But case by case, there's a situation there where you can say, well, that was the right decision. So Christian Norgard out, Jordan Henderson in. Seems like a good decision. Brian Mbeumo was always going to be sold. We felt that Dango Ouattara was the ideal replacement. We managed to get that done. The Johan Wisser one is very true, that anybody at the club will say that, you know, not ideal for that to all happen in one window. But equally, that's the model of the club, and we have to get on with it. Have the aspirations for the season changed? Not really. When we look at the underlying data and the metrics that we look at for performance, we perform very well in the games, barring a few situations that we know as fans. So we're comforted by that fact. And there's a lot of new. We're at a new side of the cycle. We're at the beginning of a new cycle, the end of a cycle last season where we had some tremendous players that was all coming to that point that we've spoke about where, you know, they got interest from high levels. So we have to be that club. Timing is everything. It's not ideal that it all happened in one window, but we embrace the challenge. There's a lot of positivity around Brentford. There's a lot of new, energetic energy swelling around the training ground, and we're excited by what happens in the season.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah,
I think we could have chatted more as well, clearly, because we're all like, I've got a question as well. So you'll have to come in again, obviously, Lee.
I will definitely come in again.
We'd love that. Thank you.
When Sharda goes for 70, 80 million. Chat about that.
Yeah.
Do a transfer deadline.
I'm saying that because I like him.
Deadline day.
Well, Shard is a very good player.
He is a good player.
He's a very good player.
I think transfer deadline day.
We need him this season.
Yeah, you do.
We do need him. We do. Oh, okay. You're touting him for transfer deadline day work as well now, are you? He might be busy.
I definitely won't be able to come in on that.
I was going to say, he might happen to be busy that day. You never know. But as I say, thank you so much. It's been a really interesting from a Brentford angle as well, but I'm sure for everybody else too. Absolutely. So thank you very much.
It's all my pleasure. Thank you very much.
We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll keep you updated what's going on in those World Cup qualifiers and plenty more too.
after football? For a lot of players, it means going into punditry. Some turn to coaching or working in the game in other ways. But what about the rest? Some former footballers turn their sights away from the game, and there are a few big surprises. First up, from rainbow flicks to pancake flips. Ex-Chelsea and Southampton defender Ken Monku switched up his footballing career to buy a Dutch pancake house. He bought out the shop, which had been his favourite pancake spot as a child, and before long he was mixing the batter and getting behind the stove. Next, Everton legend Thomas Gravesen swapped out the high stakes of the Premier League for those of the poker room. He made over 150 appearances for the Toffees and won the Scottish Premier League with Celtic. Turned out the Danish international was pretty darn good at poker. He racked up a reported £100 million from his Las Vegas adventures. Remember former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech? Turns out football nets weren't the only goals he was pretty handy in front of. After retirement, he became a goaltender in ice hockey. Same skills, very different surface. And he even won a Division 2 title with Guildford Phoenix. For ex-Liverpool centre-back Daniel Agger, it wasn't just fancy footwork that was in his blood. He was also pretty good with his hands. The Denmark international turned to tattoo artistry after he hung up his boots. He'd qualified as a skin artist while at Anfield, and he then became the co-owner of his own tattoo company as well. It's not all glamour for ex-pros, though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf, the former Chelsea defender, was part of the 1998 France squad who won the World Cup. He ended up marking Brazil's Ronaldo in the final and helped his side to a 3-0 win. But Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything.
I embrace the career of acting, so I want to learn more. So seeing lots of movies is a part of my job.
To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Good evening and welcome to Kick-Off. It's the final hour of the show and it is me, Natalie Sawyer, alongside Danny Murphy and Darren Lewis. And there's lots still for us to get through as we continue to keep you right up to speed with what's happening in those World Cup qualifiers, where Northern Ireland trailed Germany by 1-0 at Windsor Park. And despite going ahead in their game at the Cardiff City Stadium, Wales do trail Belgium by 2-1. But plenty of time in those games, and we'll keep you updated on those, as we will with the under-21s, the England under-21s, who are in European Championship qualifying action too. But we're going to turn our attention to some of the topical news from the last week or so, and a story actually that we were going to perhaps talk about last Monday, but we didn't get time to, which was the story of Serie A and La Liga games being played abroad. This was announced last week, as I say, and I'm just trying to find my actual story on my computer, but I can't find it to hand at this moment. I will find it in just a moment. Before we do that, yesterday on talkSPORT, the Crystal Palace chairman, Steve Parish, joined the Sunday edition, and he was asked about his own thoughts of perhaps Premier League games joining suit and being played abroad in the future. This is what he had to say.
You know, I don't want to be complacent, but we don't really need to do that. And of course, you can't recreate the experience of a Premier League ground in any of these places. We see this from the, the friendly things that we do around America. I think they're good promotional things, but that's not a Premier League game. That's not the atmosphere that you get at a Premier League game. That's not what makes it unique. So, I would say if anybody wants to come and experience it, come to a Premier League game. I'm sure you can find a way to get a ticket. I don't see us doing it. I can see the reason the Liga are trying to do it. The Premier League and the Premier League exec are doing such an outstanding job, in media rights around the world, that along with the Champions League, UCC, really, it's crushing everybody else's media income. There is only so much media money in the world, and it's a fight for share of that media income. And this is the thing. The Premier League's real challenges are, UCC, Club World Cup, these are the things that are our competitors, without being in any way complacent. We really are light years ahead of other European leagues in terms of revenue, and I don't think there's anything to be gained by doing it.
OK, so to confirm, what will be happening in this season is that Villarreal and Barcelona will be playing in Miami in December for the first European League fixture to be played abroad. And then in February, AC Milan and Como will head to Perth, Australia for a Serie A fixture. Within the sort of announcement of this, UEFA put out a statement where they've basically allowed these matches to go ahead, but they said it was also regrettable at the same time, and this shall not, as they said, be setting a precedent. Our commitment is clear: to protect the integrity of national leagues and ensure that football remains anchored in its home environment. So UEFA, who govern all of these European leagues, essentially, Darren, they're saying it's regrettable, but they're still allowing it to go ahead. Why?
I feel a bit of sympathy as well for UEFA, because I think their intention might not be for it to set a precedent, but I think a lot of clubs will see it as an opportunity. I know, I remember when the 39th game, as it was so called, was first mooted in 2007.
That long ago.
It was that long ago, nearly 20 years. And people were just like, you may as well have said that there would be pigs flying. The people said it's never going to happen. But increasingly over the years, I've been on pre-season trips to America, to the Far East, and you see the appetite in these countries. And then you look at the fact that there are more and more American owners in our Premier League. Listen, who am I to take issue with something that Steve Parish has said, who's got infinitely more knowledge on this than me? But I just wonder, yes, we have a fantastic product in this country and across Europe as well. There are great products. But as we all know, in football, money talks. And I think when people see the appetite, the take-up, the finance that is on offer, there will be a movement, I think, as I said, particularly with the American contingent within the ownership group in the Premier League. I think that we're going to have a situation where people are saying, actually, I quite fancy that.
I think the one biggest factor in it not happening will be the supporters. I think we've seen many times in recent seasons groups of supporters coming together and changing the owners' minds, whether it be ticket pricing, whether it be the European Super League. There's a tribalism around. I'm not suggesting in the Bundesliga or La Liga the fans don't love the club, but it's far and above, it feels like, with us. Like the fans, when they go together and kick off on something, it changes ownership's minds on even lesser issues than this. And I just don't see a big club's group of supporters accepting it.
I agree with you, but I think, look, in both the games that you mentioned, both those games involve at least one huge club and influential players in terms of ownership as well. And if you look at the changes that there have been in the Champions League, they've come about because of some serious superpowers in terms of European club football. And we may never know the full extent of the conversations that have been had. but clearly compromises have been reached to give us the model we have, which is actually very entertaining now and actually has more jeopardy than what it was before. Right to the very end of the group stage. I don't even know if we can call it a group stage anymore. It's a league phase
now. Yeah.
But and so I do agree with the whole idea that the fans are going to stand up to be counted, but a lot of these people don't have the emotional investment that the fans have, and some of those people, I think, ultimately will be steadfast enough to focus more on the financial rewards rather than the emotion of the justifiable emotion that we should all frankly get behind in terms of the fans, because they're the ones who pay for it, they're the ones who invested in it. But the more ownership models you get where there are people who are thinking about the bottom line, the more I think we have reason to be concerned.
I understand your view, and I think, yeah, it might be that way. The greed comes in, but there's a meritocracy issue as well. So, for example, if you're talking about one of the superpowers in our league, let's say it's Liverpool, and they play Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brentford then don't have to play Liverpool at Anfield, which to those other teams who are fighting for their life to stay in the league are going to have an argument and go, hold on, that's not fair. They're playing them at a neutral stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you can look at it from a meritocracy point of view and go, it's actually not fair to the... And I think the Premier League will look at that and say, well, actually, that's a fair argument, because one thing we've prided ourselves on, or I think we've always thought we've prided ourselves on, is, you know, the promotion, the relegation, the meritocracy of our league. I think great referees, as in whether they're good or bad each year, but in terms of their intention. I've always felt in my whole career that referees never make bad decisions. There's no corruption. I've never seen or felt that. We've got this fairness and this equal playing field of two. You know, you go away and you go home. You can get relegated and you can get promoted. That doesn't. So if you allow it once, and I'm not saying this I just use Brentford as an example.
No.
I don't.
I see it's the big draw.
But what I'm saying is, I think it's Villarreal, isn't it? Did you say?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe they're not going to be in a relegation. But let's say Brentford were in a relegation and they managed to get a draw against Liverpool in Perth to keep them up. That point keeps them up. Well, then you've got Wolves saying, we had to go to Anfield. Why couldn't we play them at Perth? Who makes that choice?
I suppose.
Who makes that choice?
You're
Who
absolutely
would make
right.
that choice in the Liga, for example, if Villarreal get the point that qualifies them?
Well, I
for
would
the
imagine
Champions
that
League?
somebody's gone to Villarreal and go, if you do it, we'll pay you this. And they've gone, yes, please.
Yeah.
Which is what you're talking about. But I think in our league, because the Premier League as well, you know, is run by the clubs and voted for by the clubs, I'm not sure you'd get 2/3.
So ordinarily, I'd agree with you. But if you look at the contingent, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are around about 12 to 13 clubs that are run by American owners in the Premier League. It's a lot. We're pushing towards.
But I suppose, love it or hate it, the idea, maybe the regulator would never even let that as a conversation continue, just for the...
I don't know how much that would be too much power, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, but I think that's part of the remit, isn't it? We want to protect the
fans.
Yeah, we want to protect football here in this country. And as much as I understand there are fans across the world...
No.
Darren's not having it.
I'm not sure. I'm with you. I'm not sure it's part of the remit. Listen, we are talking about businessmen owning who own these football clubs, who are used to getting their own way in business, you know, and are not used to having somebody tell them what they can and can't do with their money. And I think there'll be general things that the regulator will have that kind of influence on. But I'm not sure that influence will stretch, as you've been saying.
Probably from a legal point of view. You know, if City or Newcastle decided to legally challenge that, you're in a world of trouble, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Well, let's just hope it doesn't happen. Certainly from the Premier League angle.
Well, all I would say is that, you know, these things, when it first happened, like I said, all of us, never going to happen. As journalists, never going to happen. talkSPORT, I remember being on talkSPORT in shows at the time, were never going to happen. Now, nearly 20 years on, they're having a little nibble again, you know, just like we thought Super Leagues would never happen. And what we have now in Europe is the equivalent of a Super League. You know, these things come back and back.
And look,
well, Natalie, we thought Darren was never going to get here today, but you got here.
And here I
Things
am.
happen.
Chariots of fire.
you know what? You're absolutely right in a way to sort of poo-poo the regulator side of things, because if UEFA can't stop it, then I guess a regulator can't as well. But what I don't understand at the end of the day is how UEFA are allowing it to go ahead, even though they have said it's regrettable and something that they don't want to see continue. I find it bizarre.
We're giving too much, we're ascribing too much of the blame, the culpability at UEFA, because I think when these things happen, you know, we saw how UEFA fought against the idea of changing the group stage from what it was, but we know what the threat was from the big clubs in the Premier League. They're going to pick their ball up and run away with it. So the very simplistic thing is to hammer these people who are trying to keep everything together. But what we know we have that. We've seen it before. We've heard it ourselves from some of the big players, power brokers in European football. We want to do things our own way, and we're seeing those little fissures here and there happening, and this is one of them.
All right. As we say, though, it is a Serie A and a La Liga game that will be heading abroad this season, and I'm sure it's a conversation that will continue as well with regards to the Premier League. Okay. On the way next, we'll bring you updates on what's happening in those World Cup qualifiers, plus also bring you some interesting quotes from Anthony Taylor, the referee, who has basically said you've got to stop expecting perfection from officials. You're tuning in to kick off on talkSPORT, and it is Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10. Don't forget, this Friday, Kieran Conway puts his British and Commonwealth middleweight titles on the line against the undefeated George Liddard at York Hall. You can watch it live this Friday, only on DAZN.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
All right, let's take you straight to the Cardiff City Stadium where another penalty has been given. Lawrence Moore.
Yeah, Wales 1, Belgium 3. Penalty given and dispatched once again by Kevin De Bruyne low into the corner. The family stand did their best to put him off, waving their hands in the air and their torches on their phones, but he wasn't to be denied. It was Jordan James who gave away the penalty, inexplicably just flicking an elbow at the ball. I'm not entirely sure what he was doing. Just panicked, I think. Wales had been trying desperately to build a head of steam, but their experienced opponents had really sort of killed the tempo in the second half, kept the ball. Doku in particular has been tormenting Ben Davies on the Belgian right wing. Ben Davies now off the pitch. He's been replaced by Nathan Broadhead. Wales going for it, but they have got an absolute mountain to climb. There's about 15 minutes to go. It's Wales 1, Belgium 3.
And what's happening in the game between Northern Ireland and Germany? Denise Watson.
Natalie, at Windsor Park, it's Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1. Still that goal, the difference, that Nick Voldemari goal in the first half. We have had the Dan Ballard goal disallowed as well. But my goodness, Karim Adeyemi really should have put Germany 2-0 up in the opening minute of this half. He went 1-on-1 with Bailey Peacock-Farrell after being teed up perfectly by Florian Wirtz. A huge let-off from Michael O'Neill's side. But they were maybe caught napping, but they certainly spurred into action after that. We have had chances from Ethan Galbraith, Brodie Spencer, both coming close, and Bailey Peacock-Farrell has pulled off a great save against Serge Gnabry. Florian Wirtz is getting roundly booed by the Galway here for some theatrics at the minute. But at Windsor Park, with about 10 minutes left to go, it's Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1.
Denise, thank you very much. And England's under-21s are in European Championship qualifying action. That's at Pride Park, and Ian Abrahams is there.
Less than 10 minutes to go. Still England 1, Andorra 0. The goal scored by Tyreek George late on in the first half. He's had a good chance in the second half as well from close range, but it was stopped on the line by a defender and cleared away. And then there was a glorious ball in from the left-hand side. But neither Archie Gray or indeed Ashley Phillips from close range could force it home. Some idiot on this radio station said at half-time it wouldn't end 1-0. Less than 10 to go. England 1, Andorra 0.
Don't know who he's talking about. And more on those to come throughout. And right now we're going to concentrate on some interesting comments from the Premier League referee Anthony Taylor, who has come out sort of and said... He's spoken in general about his life as a referee and also the fact that his family no longer go to matches after what happened in that Europa League final of 2023 when he and his family were walking through the airport, I should say, and Roma fans were there, not happy with some of the decisions he had made in that Europa League final, and a lot of abuse was aimed at him and his family. But he's also said that we, as fans, as pundits, as people that work in this industry as well, that we shouldn't expect perfection from our officials. And I suppose in a way he's right, in the sense of they are human at the end of the day. They're not robots. And so many of our laws in football are subjective, Darren. So what you think a foul is, I might not, for example. And that's the same with referees. Not every referee is going to say that foul is a foul and that isn't, if you know what I mean.
Yes, that's true. The only thing is, and to be clear, I have a huge amount of sympathy. I think it was a terrific interview. I have to reference the guy who did it, Dan Rowan, for BBC Sport. It was a superb interview. And I think when somebody does the kind of job he's done with Anthony, exclusive interview, getting someone who doesn't normally talk to speak, we should credit them. I think as far as the interview itself was concerned, he raised a couple of really important points when he talked about the concern he had for his family, who had taken to the Europa League final and wouldn't take them again after the way that he was treated after the match. But then he talked in more broad terms about the fact that, as you say, we do expect that perfection. The only problem with what he said, and the other bit I totally agree with, this one I would slightly quibble with, is that we have brought in, at vast expense at the elite level, VAR. And VAR is designed to pick up on the mistakes that the referee misses, because I don't think there is an expectation that the referee is perfect. I don't think there is that expectation from
maybe from a minority of naive fans, but
not the majority. Not the majority. Lots of people accept that referees are fallible. They make mistakes. They don't see things, and the VAR's job is to help the official. But very often, and we've seen it talked about, discussed, even by some ex-referees. What we have is that you have refereeing teams who support each other. Instead of actually saying, actually, you've made a mistake there, sometimes you get people doubling down on subjective opinions which everyone else can see to be incorrect. And that's what doesn't help referees. So that does need to change. But the broad point that Anthony was making, I'm 100% behind. We need to examine ourselves as a footballing culture in terms of the way we treat referees.
Well, I think I'm a good example of somebody who's had to evolve their opinion, if you like, and be a little bit more open-minded, because I hated VAR for a long time and didn't want to budge on it. And I still, given a choice, would get rid of it, but that's not happening. So I have to look at it differently. And as I think last year or two, I've been looking at it, well, okay, how can it get better? Now, one of the things I know they're trying to do, and I agree with, which didn't quite start the season this way, but it's back to it now, is have this really high bar and let the refs ref and really only try and bring VAR in when it's a really blatantly obvious mistake.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying really hard to do that. So I think we should give them credit for that. I think one of the problems we've got, and I think you touched on it, Darren, is that you've got the refs reffing on the pitch and the VAR officials at Stockley Park, right? Now, and inevitably this was going to happen, and it'll take a while for this to change if they do change it. But what you've got is this group of people who are in it together. They're the same team. They all know each other. They've all worked together for a long time, and they don't want to. And this is human nature. This ain't a nasty thing that they're doing or a plan of...
Mm-hmm.
Human nature generally wants you to protect your own and stick up for each other and have each other's back. So what we see a lot of is a ref going to a screen because he's been called over by VAR, very rarely sticking to his own decision and going with them. And that's what one of the problems of what I've just said. It's like, I can't, if we go against each other here and...
Absolutely.
You've brought me... I don't... Moving forward, my ideal scenario would be VAR and refereeing being two different jobs.
Yes.
Two different career paths and two different teams of people that aren't necessarily on the same team.
That's a really good potential.
I think that would help. Now, the only problem with that, someone might say, well, then you've got them going against each other because they're not together. I just think it's a completely different role. We've had how many refs recently come out and talk openly about the fact they can't do VAR very well and they don't like doing it.
Yes.
But they're forced into doing it.
Absolutely.
Now, I still can't... What's the word? I can't understand some of the VAR decisions because they're so damn easy and obvious. But that probably only on one hand, those 3, 4, 5 this season. Generally, they're trying to separate VAR now from being a constant in the game and making it an exception when it comes in on the which I think is the right thing. They are definitely trying to do that. So we've got to stick with them while they do it. Refs, yes, should be allowed to make mistakes, and they will. And just finally, on the only thing I'd say, and the behaviour at the airport was awful for him and his family. But I can tell you lots of stories of players whose families have to put up with as bad, if not worse, than that.
But do you think that's acceptable?
It's not acceptable, but it's part of the game.
But
I remember saying
to explain. Even as an explanation.
Can we pause this and carry it on after the break? Because I'm conscious of the time. I have to head to a break. I know it's sometimes frustrating, but we do. We'll get more on that. But by the way, on Kickoff on Wednesday from 7 o'clock, we're going to be delving deeper into the refereeing situation in grassroots football. So that's going to be really interesting to listen into, I'm sure. But that's on Wednesday. More on this to come as well here on Kickoff. Good evening and welcome along to Kickoff this Monday evening on talkSPORT. Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10. The former England cricket captain Andrew Flintoff joins his former teammate and best mate Steve Harmison for a special interview on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, chatting about his new book, Coming Home, which is out now. And here they reflect on that iconic Ashes series of 2005 and that famous photo of Freddie comforting Australia's Brett Lee following England's narrow win at Edgbaston.
When you got Kasparovich out, I spoke about this before, is that one of the things about it is you get taught as kids, didn't you? You know, two things: respect the umpire. If you nick it, walk, which I never did. And the other, respect the opposition. But you got taught that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I got there.
Because you were the first one to shake his hand.
But I wasn't focused.
You don't know where the cameras are now. Look at you now, look at all these cameras. And then just went over, and it was nothing profound. It was, I quite like Brett Lee.
Yeah.
You know, we tried to knock him out. He runs in every day. We tried to hit him. We tried to get him out. And he just kept coming back. And it was just like, man, he deserves that type of thing. We'll see you next week.
And you can watch the full interview. Make sure you can head over to our talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel to hear more of it. Subscribe as well, or you can listen to it via the following on podcast feed. We're not going to say exactly what we're talking about, but anyhow.
Oh, actually, I've got to bring something up. I expect, Darren, I'm sure he's a great father and a good communicator, but I was having a chat with his boy the other day, who's a great lad.
Yes.
And he wasn't even aware that Darren was doing Monday night.
You really talk to your family?
He says, I don't know where he is half the time. Oh, that's a...
Well, to be fair, we don't know where he is half the time.
But Tish.
For those that missed, Darren wasn't really with us for the first hour. But anyway, we've got to get back to Cardiff. There's been another goal in the Wales-Belgium game. Lawrence Moore.
Well, Wales 2, Belgium 3, and it's Nathan Broadhead on as a sub, right-footed. He just created a little bit of space and whipped the ball into the corner of the net from the edge of the penalty area. It's the 89th minute, that goal, so we're waiting to see what goes up on the board. Can Wales, out of somewhere, I'm just going to tell you that Leandro Trossard has finished it. It's ball's come across from a breakaway down the left-hand side. It's rolled across the 6-yard box. Wales desperately trying to get themselves forward. They've left Leandro Trossard completely unmarked on the back post, and he has broken Welsh hearts. But there you go, one at each end, and it's Wales 2, Belgium 4.
Goals in that game. We are still waiting if Northern Ireland can get something back against Germany. We'll have an update on that, no doubt, shortly. But it is also all over at Pride Park. It was meant to be a goal fest. I'm not sure it turned out that way in Abrahams.
No, England 1, Andorra 0. Chelsea's Tyreek George with his first goal for England's under-21s in his first start, just towards the end of the first half. Good finish from a tight angle left-hand side of the penalty area. England creates a catalogue of first-half chances. Now the Josh King goal disallowed for offside. Second half, they also had an effort cleared off the line and a couple of other chances, but really the scoreline a little underwhelming. But England have made it 3 wins out of 3 and goes to the top of their group. Finished in front of just about 10,000 at Pride Park. England 1, Andorra 0.
Ian, thank you very much. Let's get back onto the subject of the referees, shall we? And your idea that how you would tinker with VAR just to make it a little bit easier in the sense of having 2 very separate officials in terms of they're not a team, like we always talk about.
Well, I wouldn't make necessarily be strangers and never see each other.
No, of course not.
But it's a different role that I think needs, over years, it becomes niche. That's what you're training to
I think they were trying to do that, weren't they?
They're still doing both, aren't they?
They are in the main, but there were a couple that were taken off normal officiating duties to just be the VAR. But as I think Mike Dean has said before, and I think Graham Scott as well recently retired, that it's challenging being a VAR official.
Oh, yeah, I'm aware that some people in those roles feel really feeling the pressure of that role, because the decisions that you are influencing in a lot of cases are match defining. And obviously in this new culture, and rightly so, Howard Webb is being absolutely right in being able to make people aware that if they make mistakes, they'll be culpable. It should be that culture. If you're a footballer, you've been a footballer, if you make a mistake, it could be match defining for your team. If managers make mistakes, ultimately they pay with their jobs. Why should there not be that same level of responsibility for referees? But as a result, that has left referees really feeling under pressure in situations like that. So, as you rightly say, I think take away some of the things that are undermining their decision-making in some respects, i.e. the relationships they have with fellow referees, colleagues, and make it so that you have someone in that position who has no relationship with the person who is officiating, so that you don't feel you're throwing them under the bus.
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit. I mean, it'd only be incremental. Well, the other thing I was saying just before the break as well is that, of course, I've got sympathy for any family or kids or wife who has to deal with what he did at the airport. But the only thing I would say with that, because I've seen it, I mean, my mum stopped going to games years ago when I first. She only went to a few because she didn't want to hear the negativity around bad performance or the aggressive nature that some people voice their opinions. And there's worse stories than that over years gone by. I've seen players suffer and families suffer, and we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen. I remember Dyer, Tottenham ended up nearly trying to go in the stand and stuff. So all I'd say with that, referees now are as more in the public eye than they've ever been, more well known than they've ever been, because maybe not even through choice, but they have to speak more. There's more games on telly. They're under the spotlight more. Unfortunately, that's just you're gonna, a bit like social media for players, social media for refs. If you can't deal with that stuff and you're not thick-skinned, it's not the job for you.
We'll talk more about this in just a moment, but let's just bring you the full-time score from Windsor Park. Denise Watson.
Thanks, Natalie. Yes, at Windsor Park, Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1. Not the victory Michael O'Neill had hoped for on his 100th game in charge, but to be fair, his young team really fought hard against the former 4-time World Cup winners. We certainly got our fair share of excitement here tonight. Dan Ballard thought he'd scored from close range on 13 minutes, but the flag was up for Paddy McNair in the build-up to the goal. Just after the half-hour, Newcastle striker Nick Voldemari scored his first international goal for Germany, whipping in a header of David Run's corner. Jimmy Reid should have equalised for the home side before the break, with only Oliver Bowman to beat in goals. Karim Adeyemi went 1-on-1 with Peacock Farrell in the first minute of the second half, but his effort went wide. A let off for Northern Ireland, but it did spur them into action. Ethan Galbraith and Brodie Spencer came close, and Peacock Farrell denied Serge Gnabry 2. Galbraith's work rate was so impressive tonight, he whizzed over the crossbar in the final few minutes, and the Gabba were on their feet when substitute Callum Marshall, picking up Trey Hume's cross, forced Bowman into a save. Pulsating stuff, and Liverpool's Florian Wirtz got nicely booed for his theatrics tonight as well. But no joy for this 18,000 strong crowd here in Belfast. Germany take the points. It's Slovakia away in November and Luxembourg at home to come for the Green and White Army. So tonight at Windsor Park in Belfast, Northern Ireland 0, Germany 1.
Yeah, narrow loss then for Northern Ireland, and that leaves Group A with Germany top Slovakia in the playoff positions. Northern Ireland 3 points behind both of those teams, but as Denise said there, it is Slovakia next for Michael O'Neill's side. Wales are still playing, and we'll bring you a full-time score on that one as and when that full-time whistle goes. But in that group, North Macedonia were taking on Kazakhstan. They were the one-time leaders of this group, but their game finished in a 1-1 draw. They had to come from behind to earn that point as well. It leaves them second. Belgium currently top, and Wales, 4 points off Belgium and 3 off North Macedonia as well. I want to just read this message that came in. Stuart Cave from Peterborough says, I'm a referee and VAR has massively hindered lower down referees. We are now expected to get everything spot on. It's made our officiating much harder and brought more of the old abuse back in as well.
There you go, and this is my point. I mean, to Danny's point and to his point as well, none of us want to legitimise or make excuses for people abusing players. That's why I was, before you went to the break earlier, I was kind of sort of taking issue with what Danny was saying, because broadly I agree with what you're saying. But for me, I kind of moved the envelope even further. I don't want to see any circumstances where if you're a player, if you're a referee, if you're an official, if you're a manager, I don't want to excuse grown men being abusive and women being abusive towards officials or people with participants within the game. And I think sometimes, I know you weren't trying to make excuses for it, but I think people do get away with it. And I can understand what he's saying as a referee, because that's what the culture is now. People think they have an excuse because decision's gone against their team, they've got an excuse to go at referees, and referees that rightly saying, I don't get paid enough for this. No, I'm not having it. I'd rather walk away. That can't be good for the game.
Well, that's why Wednesday night's show is going to be fascinating at kick-off when we bring you a Grassroots refereeing special. You can tune into that from 7.
Well, we've done some of that, Natalie, recently over the last year or two on Wednesday mornings, and some of the stories have been horrendous. I think one of the pluses is, I mean, you'll do it on the Wednesdays, but the body cams and stuff. The more funding for that, the better, because it does make a difference to people's behaviour.
Yes.
OK, we'll take a break. And when we return, we're going to talk about the newest permanent manager, a player, of course, who once plied his trade at Arsenal, but is now treading the boards as a manager. Jack Wilshere has been appointed the Luton Town boss. We'll get the thoughts of Danny and Darren on that. And also, maybe we should be giving a big shout out to Cape Verde.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who have qualified for the World Cup.
Have they?
There you go. We'll bring you more on that in just a moment. To you. This is Kick-Off with Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10. It's all over at the Cardiff City Stadium. Lawrence Moore.
Yeah, it's finished. Wales 2, Belgium 4. The visitors' experience and quality just too much for Craig Bellamy's side tonight. That despite Wales taking the lead in the 8th minute. Joe Rodon powering himself to meet Sorba Thomas's corner and head home. That, though, was wiped out in the first half by a penalty from Kevin De Bruyne after a controversial handball by Ethan Ampadu when the ball had hit his hand from just a yard away. Nothing controversial, though, about the next goal before half-time. Doku setting up a thumping finish by Munya on the break. Wales gave it a really good go second half. Doku tormenting Ben Davies all evening, though, so much so that Davies was forced off in his 100th cap. Nathan Broadhead suddenly gave Wales hope as he whipped the ball home in the 89th minute. Sadly, Leandro Trossard finished things off with pretty much a minute later scoring unmarked at the back post as Wales were just gathering themselves for that big last push. It's a cracking game, but it means it's highly unlikely Wales will get top spot, an automatic qualification for the World Cup next summer. However, a draw for Macedonia tonight against Kazakhstan means that Wales can go level with them with their game in hand against Liechtenstein before those two teams meet here in Cardiff to fight it out for second place. Again, game that is huge in terms of Wales having a home or away match in the playoffs in March. So still plenty to play for in this group, but tonight it's all over with Wales 2, Belgium 4.
Lawrence, thank you very much. Just a quick word then on Cape Verde, who have become the second smallest nation to reach the World Cup after securing qualification, having beaten Eswatini 3-0 at home. And it meant that they denied Cameroon a place at the World Cup.
And that is a big, when you think about the players in that Cameroon side.
Catastrophe for them.
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
it?
Yeah, and I think they beat them to that top spot by some distance as well. So massive news for Cape Verde, and one to look out for in the World Cup draw, certainly. Cameroon, of course, do still have a chance, I suppose, in the sense of the playoffs. Perhaps, if that's how it all works. But hey-ho.
Yeah, the four best second
maybe check it out before you...
It's not on my... It's not here. 4 points was the gap. That was it. I was trying to find it on my phone. It was too slow. But anyway, thank you. We'll move on quickly then. Jeez, Danny. Let's talk about Jack Wilshere, shall we? Who has become the permanent boss of Luton, replacing Matt Bloomfield, who was sacked. They are currently 11th in League One after back-to-back relegations, if you remember. And earlier today, Wilshere actually joined talkSPORT Drive to discuss the appointment at Kenilworth Road.
You know, I had an amazing time at Arsenal. I've said openly, I quickly realised that I'm going to have to get to work on improving myself. You know, it doesn't. If you played the game, as we know, it doesn't make you a good coach. There's things that you have to learn, you have to practice, and there's some things that we've never done as players. So I did that, and I didn't want to take that step out of there until I was ready and felt I could make a difference in a first team. That was as a first team coach. It was a really good step. It didn't always go well, and we struggled at times, and obviously everyone knows that because the manager got sacked. But I actually think there's a lot of strength in being there and experiencing that, and selfishly at times being able to step back a little bit and look at the manager, how he deals with certain situations. But yeah, and then of course getting the opportunity to lead the team. I always say, Benty, that that you never know, right? Of course, my ambition was to be a first team coach, and then all of a sudden I was a head coach there, and I was thrown into it. And there's a little bit of imposter syndrome, and what's it going to feel like? And I absolutely loved it. I felt completely comfortable. We got a reaction from the players, and that gave me a lot of belief. And this feels like you said, naturally the next step. I feel like I'm more than ready for this. I've got great support around me. I've got the support of the club. Hopefully we can connect again with the fans and bring them with us.
Well, let's not forget, of course, his early days was at Luton Town as a youngster before Arsenal came along, I think at 9 years old. So it's a bit of a homecoming for him. But, I mean, it's great, obviously, to see so many new managers getting a chance. But it's always a risk, Danny, isn't it?
Yeah, but fair play to him for putting himself out there and taking the challenge. He's had different roles. This is obviously the biggest one where he's going to come under the microscope because it's all on him. The only difficulty is, I think, for anybody, if you're going to a level to manage that you haven't really played at, to understand the difference in mentality, the difference in quality, the different type of coaching. Now, he's made a great appointment in Chris Powell. Who's going along with him. Powell is a great guy. He's been around the block. He's been at all levels of the game. Really experienced character, great temperament. Played with Powell. He's a great guy. I think that's clever. And
he knows the lower leagues, having managed in the lower leagues.
Well, exactly. And I think he'll learn a lot on the job, Jack. But all young managers do. In a way, it's quite refreshing to see somebody not be entitled and think, I deserve a chance somewhere. But, he's saying, give me a chance, I'll show you. Yeah. And the reality is, although they've not been great, Luton, really, in comparison to their expectation, he's taken a team mid-table, not in a relegation fight. He can mark, put his stamp on it, but it's not going to be easy. I've played in those lower leagues. It's tough going, and he's going to have to maybe adapt his style a little bit and think a bit differently about game plans and stuff. But I hope it goes well for him. It's a big challenge he's taken on.
But the key that Danny's pointed out is the appointment of Chris Powell, because you do need guidance when you're starting out as a manager and someone that has been there and done it. And I think actually Faye Carruthers, who is a Luton fan but our England correspondent, who has no doubt inner knowledge there as well, I think she was even saying Steve Bold might be coming in as another coach too.
Yeah, that would be so important. I think I go right back to Arthur Cox alongside Kevin Keegan. You think about even recently, I've heard that Gary Mack might be going in with Steven Gerrard if he were to go back to Rangers, because you do need that experienced hand at the tiller. You do need somebody to basically sense check you and give you the benefit of their wisdom and experience, certainly in incendiary situations where something difficult has happened in a match and you might be minded to really explode, and they might say, hang on a minute, and they're the person who can take you to one side and say, well, we'd calm you down, then get you in a better moment. And I think that all of those things are the reasons why, as you say, Chris Powell's going to be a huge asset to Jack Wilshere.
Yeah, if I think back to all my successful times, the number twos was so important.
Really?
Yeah, because they just play a different role. I mean, there was a guy called Patrice Berg with Wilshere at the beginning who was his confidant. I mean, he did move on for whatever reason, but Roy Hodgson had two. He had Mike Kelly and Ray Lewington. Mark Hughes had his little team as well, and it's so important you get that right. And I think that's a clever choice.
And is it true there's a good cop, bad cop?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a great tale in Kieran Dyer's autobiography about a time when his assistant, Bobby Robson's assistant, tore into him after a match, and Kieran has a go back, and Kieran freely admits that I was so angry I was in tears, and Bobby tore into me in the dressing room. But afterwards, he took me to one side and said, I can't have you basically speaking to my staff like that. What's the matter with you? And he was so good, he managed to get him back on side, but it was the assistant that had managed to basically unload on him. And
we had Phil Thompson at Liverpool for a good few years.
Yeah.
And he was the bad cop. And then, of course, he became the good one when Wilshere got ill. So it's just adapting your roles,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Steve Bold would be good for Jack.
Really good.
Well, it's just exciting to see new managers coming through at the end of the day.
We need new names in football.
Yeah.
We need fresh ideas. We need some of the younger players who have come from, the playing contingent. Not everyone's going to go into punditry and do what Danny does. Some people are going to come into it, want to kind of keep their hand in, and he's done all the hard yards. He's going to do hopefully a good job.
Yeah, okay. At 9:56, I think that's a good time to finish. But I think we should set Danny a challenge. You want to spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
It's actually 9:57.
He's loading up into trap 2.
If you're streaming and watching us,
you know about the train problems. Right,
Danny, you go. We're done. It is the sports bar. It's the sports bar next. So why not tune in to Jason Cunningham?
Has everybody gone?
You have to stay on for another hour.
I will do that. Me and you.
I'm not staying on. I did my 3 hours. You've got another hour to make up. Get the calls into the lads though. 03717 22 33 44. Thanks for tuning.